But as it waved its scepter, a massive undead legion suddenly appeared to face the enemy. At that moment, hundreds of warships, each hundreds of meters long, approached from the other side, looking imposing. But the necromancer raised its scepter and pointed at the warships. A red light filled the sky, and in an instant, all the warships were destroyed. After doing all this, the necromancer slowly turned its head to look at me. At the same time, a seven-colored light surged from my body. Bai Yuan and Yin Guangxing cried out in shock, realizing it was a class ascension, and one with a seven-colored light never seen before. The desolate beast lord in the distance was also shocked. It had seen countless geniuses undergo class ascension in the desolate void, but this was the first time it had seen seven-colored ascension light. It knew that if I were allowed to grow, I would definitely come for revenge, so I had to be eliminated right here. But with 3 god-level experts present, it didn't stand a single chance. Thinking this, it quickly fled in one direction. Meanwhile, the seven-colored ascension light on my body gradually faded. Suddenly, another beam of incredibly pure light shot up into the sky. Seeing this, Bai Yuan couldn't help but cry out, "It's a talent awakening." Meng Anwen also suddenly opened his eyes. After 1,000,000 years, a triple talent expert had finally appeared among humans again. Yin Guangxing was also stunned by this scene. He had considered that I might very well become a practitioner with 3 talents. But he never expected that I would already possess 3 talents during the second promotion. Yet upon seeing Bai Yuan trembling with excitement, he feigned composure and said, "It is just awakening a talent. What is there to get so worked up about?" Hearing this, Bai Yuan gave him a sidelong glance. "You know nothing. He also has a talent divine stone. When he reaches level 70 for the 3rd promotion, he still has a chance to awaken yet another talent." Yin Guangxing sprang straight up upon hearing that. Damn it. Does that mean he might become the first 4-talent powerhouse in history? At that moment, several voices echoed in my mind. Acquired talent, spiritual connection. When the spiritual power of the undead monarch is consumed, the summoned creatures will transmit their own spiritual power over to replenish it. Seeing this talent, a wave of joy instantly welled up in my heart. This meant that from now on, I would practically possess infinite spiritual power. Amidst the excitement, the system voice rang out in my mind once more. Detected that the host has acquired a new talent. Beginning to optimize the talent. Talent optimization complete. The Summon Life Connection talent and the Summon Spirit Connection talent have finished fusing. I obtained the unique Divine Grade talent, Comprehensive Connection. The host fully connects with the summoned creatures. They share damage together. They receive recovery together. They share mental consumption together. On the surface, this talent just leans toward infinite mental energy. But after thinking carefully, I understood its terrifying nature. This attribute allows me to summon a large number of skeleton in a short time, even if the skeletons suffer fatal attacks and die in mass. As long as I am still alive, I can reassemble the Undead Legion in a short time. That being said, although the 2 talents merged into one unique Divine Grade talent, the original 3 talents became 2. This left me feeling both sorrowful and joyful. At this moment, the system's voice sounded again. "Congratulations to the host for changing classes to Necromancer Lord. I mastered the new skills, Damage Curse and Status Resistance." The system begins optimizing and fusing the new skills. The skill Damage Curse and Toxic Star Ring begin fusing and optimizing. I obtained the skill Toxic Star Burst. It launches a poison attack on all enemies within a range of 100 meters. It causes enemies to suffer damage equivalent to 400 points of strength per second. The duration is 100 seconds. After the 50-fold talent bonus, it launches a poison attack on all enemies within a range of 5,000 meters. It causes enemies to suffer damage equivalent to 20,000 points of strength per second. The duration is 5,000 seconds. The skill Status Resistance and Blessing of Light begin fusing and optimizing. I obtain the passive skill Status Immunity, granting immunity to all negative status effects, including curses, crowd control, and seals. Slow Curse and Damage Curse begin fusing and optimizing. I acquire the new skill, Aging Curse. It curses all enemies within a 100-meter range, reducing their speed by 100% and increasing incoming damage by 30% for a duration of 1 minute. After talent enhancement, it can curse all enemies within a 5,000-meter range, reducing enemy speed by 5,000% and increasing damage taken by 1,500% with a duration of 50 minutes. Compared to the original Damage Curse, Aging Curse has the same damage output, but its range has expanded significantly. Aside from that, I also obtained a skill to summon Skeleton Marksman, though it is only level 1 and cannot be used yet. Elemental Resistance, level 1, and Physical Resistance, level 1, are acquired. After my transition to Necromancer Lord, my stats also received a qualitative leap. My strength, agility, and constitution stats each reach a staggering 47,850 points. My spirit stat even exceeds 100,000. Even I was startled by my own stats. You must know that most legendary practitioners, after completing their second transition, only have a total stat pool of around 60,000. Meanwhile, the sum of my 4 main stats reaches as high as 250,000. I instantly feel like I have turned into a walking boss. In addition, my summon space has also increased. Originally, each level only increased summon slots by 10. At level 39, my summon capacity reached 390. That is a full 350% increase. Just 20 Lich generals can now control 12,000 skeletons. Combined with their terrifying stats, I feel like I can walk sideways through any dungeon. Right then, Bai Yuan and Yin Guangxing are filled with excitement. This class advancement was a greater success than expected. Yet at that moment, a loud roar echoes from the distance. In the next second, all the wild beasts collapse to the ground. It looks like they are welcoming the arrival of a king. Then a colossal wild beast standing 1,000 meters tall enters our view. Seeing this, the expressions of Bai Yuan and the others change drastically. Oh no, it is the king of wild beasts. Meng Anwen quickly activates Xinxia Tower to envelop everyone, telling us to hurry. Yet the moment Xinxia Tower disappears, a bolt of black light suddenly erupts from the mouth of the Beast King and strikes the tower. Xinxia Tower hums loudly as it is sent flying, then vanishes completely. Soon we return safely to Baishan's courtyard. However, Meng Anwen was injured by that black aura earlier, and cannot fully recover in the short term. Seeing my worried expression, Meng Anwen waves his hand to let me know he is fine, and asks what skills and talents I gained from the advancement. Hearing this, I immediately recount everything about my recent class transition. When they learn my 2 talents automatically merged into a divine grade talent. Yin Guangxing and Bai Yuan stare in utter disbelief, though Meng Anwen remains calm. Talent fusion has happened before in human history. Not only can talents fuse, but skills can as well. However, upon learning my total stats reached 250,000, the usually calm Meng Anwen was so startled that he spat out his tea. Damn, that is truly exaggerated. Your total stats are several times higher than those of mid-tier legendary practitioners. Even as a god-tier powerhouse, he cannot suppress the excitement in his heart right now. At this moment, Bai Yuan hands me a box, telling me it is my class advancement reward. I am getting stronger and stronger. My Undead Legion welcomes another epic enhancement. The Skeleton Warrior and Skeleton Mage, which were originally gold tier, have now all been promoted to the higher platinum tier. Moreover, the Undead Legion has gained a new class. It turns out that right after my class advancement, Bai Yuan handed me a golden box. The moment I opened it, blinding 7-colored light burst out from inside, accompanied by intense elemental fluctuations. 3 boss accessories lying neatly inside the box. Core Ring. Platinum tier accessory. All attributes increased by 1%. Resistance to all negative statuses increased by 50%. Duration reduced by 500%. All skills increased by level 1. Zaken Earring. Platinum tier accessory. All attributes increased by 15%. All damage is reduced by 5%. All skill damage is increased by 30%. Feel a necklace. Platinum grade jewelry. All attributes increased by 20%. All skill damage increased by 30%. Skill cooldown reduced by 20%. The bonuses brought by the 3 boss jewelry pieces are top tier, and the attributes above are all percentage-based bonuses. Combining the 3 jewelry pieces can increase base attributes by 45%, coupled with other enhancements. Even if a level 40 practitioner wears them, their attributes would be enough to match level 46 or 47 practitioners. What I need to do next is adapt to the new skills I just acquired. So I came to the dungeon hall, because the best way to get familiar with skills is combat. And by the way, train the newly awakened skeleton archers to level 40. But when I appeared at the dungeon hall, the originally bustling dungeon hall instantly went quiet. Everyone's gaze was fixed on me, just because my job advancement had just ended. The aura inside my body had not completely converged, exuding the aura of a high-level practitioner all over, forming a natural oppression on many low-level practitioners. Damn, Divine General Lin has only been in school for half a year and is already on his 3rd advancement. Yet I have been here for 5 years and still cannot reach the 2nd advancement. Compared to him, I am simply trash. Seeing that I chose the Whirlwind Plains, one of the 5 elemental dungeons, the crowd became excited one after another, because they knew I was going to break the record again and upgrade this wind element dungeon. Everyone will be able to obtain elemental crystal within this dungeon. This is a tremendous benefit for all practitioners. After entering the dungeon, I summoned a Skeleton Warrior for the first time. Ever since the job advancement, the Skeleton Warrior has upgraded from gold tier to platinum tier. Its name also changed from warrior to berserker. Its size is also much taller and bigger than before. Its attributes have been greatly enhanced as well. All four-dimensional attributes are 110,000. The total attributes add up to a terrifying 440,000. A qualitative upgrade also occurred. Similarly, the skeleton mage underwent a qualitative upgrade. It advanced from the original skeleton mage to a skeleton archmage. Its strength, agility, and physique attributes are all 25,000. Its spirit attribute is as high as 150,000. The biggest change is that they are no longer divided by elemental categories. The skills of all skeleton archmages consist of multiple elemental damages. Even if the boss is immune to one or two types of elemental damage, the skeleton archmages can still play a role. They will not end up like before, where skeleton mages of the immune element could only stand by and watch. This used to cause me to lose a fair amount of firepower support. Next, I began to summon skeleton sharpshooters. The skills I need to level up now, aside from corpse explosion, are just the skeleton sharpshooters. After summoning them dozens of times consecutively, my spirit only symbolically decreased by 31 points. Then, in the blink of an eye, it recovered completely. This is the terrifying aspect of my new talent. Since spirit is no longer a restriction, the speed of leveling up skills now depends on my casting speed. As I cast skills repeatedly, the skeleton sharpshooter's skills began to improve rapidly. But as time passed, the people waiting for the dungeon to clear were baffled. Damn, it's already been 4 hours. Why is there still no movement from the dungeon? The record for this dungeon was only 2 hours and 32 minutes. Could it be that he became weaker after his class change? You don't know a thing. Divine General Lin just finished his class change. Clearly, he's just practicing his skills inside the dungeon. As for what was happening outside the dungeon, I had no idea. Nor did I care to know. Right now, I just wanted to get my skills up to level 40 as quickly as possible. But the higher the skill level, the slower the progress. At first, it only took me an hour to get Summon Skeleton Sharpshooter to level 10. But reaching level 20 took over 3 hours. Then it got even slower. I immediately checked the Skeleton Sharpshooter's attribute panel. I found that their attributes were quite a bit weaker than those of the Skeleton Warriors. However, its passive skill was very peculiar. It allowed the Skeleton Sharpshooter's attacks to have a 100% hit rate. I was delighted when I saw this passive skill, because it was perfect for dealing with the flying creatures of the Abyss and the Dragon race. I couldn't wait to see just how powerful the Skeleton Sharpshooters were. So, I led the Undead Legion deeper into the dungeon. Soon, I spotted a group of monsters. Wind elemental spirits were floating in midair. Their total attributes were 110,000. They possessed wind element immunity and a trait that reduced physical damage by 50%. Right at that moment, 4 skeleton elite archers attacked simultaneously. In the next second, 4 sharp arrows shot outward. The arrows were like lightning, instantly hitting 4 elemental spirits. The attacked elemental spirits quickly gathered energy. Clearly, they were casting a skill. However, with the second round of attacks from the archers landing, the skills of the 4 elemental spirits were instantly interrupted. They fell into a brief state of stagnation. And the moment they fell into this stagnant state, the archers attacked 4 more times in succession. Then, 4 consecutive kill notifications appeared. After receiving the Legion Fortify bonus, the attack frequency of the skeleton elite archers reached 3 arrows per second, which was slightly faster than the skeleton warriors. Although their attack power was not as high as the skeleton warriors, they could achieve ranged locked-on strikes. With 100% accuracy, their efficiency might even surpass the skeleton warriors. Then I tested the new skills of the skeleton grand mages, and found that elemental explosion had no flight trajectory. Instead, it exploded directly on the target. It also possessed the lock-on property, and the explosion would deal damage to a 10-meter radius. Whether it was the archers or the skeleton mages, their attacks were undodgeable. Once locked on, targets could only take the hits head-on. Compared to the skeleton elite archers, the skills of the skeleton grand mages were much more powerful. Killing a level 40 3-wind fairy archer required 6 arrows, while the skeleton grand mage's elemental explosion only took 3 hits. However, their overall efficiency is the same. The archer can fire 6 arrows in 2 seconds. The skeleton mage can only cast elemental explosion 3 times in that same span. When it comes to sheer burst power, though, the strongest is still the skeleton warrior. Its new skill, Berserk Strike, can instantly kill the wind fairies. After testing the Undead Legion, I began testing my own new skills. With the massive increase in my mental stats and skill levels, the power of Soul Flame and Bone Fangs has been greatly enhanced. Meanwhile, Toxic Star Ring combined with Slow Curse possesses terrifying area of effect killing power. Once I cast Slow Curse, the monsters in the dungeon are killed instantly without exception. Even the skeleton archer, which has the lowest single target output, wipes them out instantly. At this point, I have a very clear grasp of my own combat power. Next, it is time to seriously clear the dungeon. So I decisively exited the dungeon and re-entered it once more. Scarcely a few seconds passed before observant onlookers noticed. I knew Divine General Lin was just practicing his skills inside the dungeon earlier. Now is when he truly starts going all out. Upon entering the dungeon, I directly summoned 20 Undead Legions. 12,000 skeletons surged imposingly in all directions. To my surprise, this dungeon is much larger than the other elemental dungeons. Over 10,000 skeletons were scattered all over the place inside. It ultimately took over an hour to clear out all the monsters scattered across the plains. Then, the dungeon began to vibrate slightly. Seeing this, I realized this dungeon's upgrade mechanic is different from the Water Elemental General's domain. To trigger an upgrade, you not only need to kill quickly, you also need to kill thoroughly. You have to clear out every single monster on the plains within a certain time frame. Meanwhile, the practitioners in the dungeon hall all wore expressions of disappointment. It has been so long, and the dungeon still hasn't upgraded. It seems there are things even Divine General Lin cannot do. Many people started making sarcastic remarks. My failure brought them joy. Although his military rank is at the Divine General level, his actual strength is far inferior to other Divine Generals. However, some people spoke up for me. After all, Divine General Lin has just completed his second-class advancement. So it is normal that he couldn't upgrade the dungeon. Besides, the map of this dungeon is ridiculously large, making it impossible to kill enough monsters in a short time. Exactly. If you are so capable, why don't you try it yourself? Both sides held their own opinions and arguments. Yet right at this moment, the dungeon vortex, followed by the bell of the dungeon hall, rang out. Little did they expect that the first genius in 10,000 years with a divine-level talent would be mocked by ordinary practitioners for supposedly crashing in the dungeon. Little do they know I am about to break the strongest record in human history and activate a heritage secret realm that no one has ever opened for hundreds of years. It turned out that just moments ago, seeing that I had entered the Whirlwind Plains for over an hour without upgrading the dungeon, many practitioners began to feel disappointed in me. Some even started making sarcastic remarks. Yet right as I finished clearing out all the mobs inside the dungeon, the large bell in the dungeon hall suddenly rang. The faces of those who had just mocked me instantly turned extremely ugly. Then they turned around and left the dungeon hall. Meanwhile, those who supported me laughed at their expense. Without Divine General Lin, you would not even have the chance to obtain elemental crystals. They still had the nerve to mock Divine General Lin. After the dungeon upgrade completed, the monsters inside also changed. All monsters advanced into Hell Tier Elite monsters. Their total stats increased to 140,000, which was 30,000 higher than before. They also gained dual immunity to wind, elemental, and physical attacks. This not only rendered the Berserk Skeleton Warriors completely useless, but even the attack power of the Skeleton Sharpshooters was greatly reduced. Fortunately, the Grand Skeleton Mages were not affected at all. Moreover, the corpses of these pure elemental monsters would disappear after death, preventing Lin Moyu from using the corpse explosion skill. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu moved his mind, and a full 4,000 skeleton mages began clearing out monsters in all directions. However, because this dungeon map was too large, his slow curse could not play its proper role either. Yet under the bonus of the Lich General, a few elemental explosions from the Grand Skeleton Mages could finish off a whirlwind sprite. As the Undead Legion advanced rapidly, the lesser monsters in the dungeon all died quickly. Immediately after, the final boss of the dungeon appeared, which was a level 45 Hell Tier boss. However, Lin Moyu couldn't even be bothered to look at its stats. He casually cast the slow curse. The skeleton warriors took the lead and rushed forward, simultaneously unleashing the Berserk Strike skill, dealing damage equal to 500% of their own strength to the target, combined with the 15-fold damage from the slow curse. The Wind God Mount collapsed and died without even having time to scream. Killing it increased Lin Moyu's experience by 2.7 million. He also obtained 3 Whirlwind Shards and 1 Whirlwind Gem. Collecting 5 Whirlwind Shards can synthesize a Whirlwind Crystal. The Whirlwind Key can open the true Wind God Palace. The Wind God Jade can be used to awaken the Wind God. The Whirlwind Gemstone can permanently reduce wind element damage by 50%, and gives a chance to obtain a Wind-type skill. Yet after using it, I still failed to gain any skills. I also obtained 2 pieces of dark gold equipment, but they turned out to be garbage without even any attached skills. This clearance took over 2 hours, but it still set a new record, even though it was not a very impressive record. Anyone who frequently hangs around the dungeon hall knows my first record did not count. The second time was what mattered. Without lingering after leaving the dungeon, I entered it again. This time, it took me only 15 minutes to clear the dungeon. The practitioners in the dungeon hall were dumbfounded at the sight. Holy crap, a new 15-minute record. Divine General Lin really knows how to create miracles. This record is now unbeatable. Originally, I planned to run it 4 or 5 times to collect 4 whirlwind crystals and then stop. Right in the middle of my third run, an unexpected change occurred. The bell in the dungeon hall rang once more. What is more, it kept ringing for nearly 100 times without any intention of stopping. Everyone was utterly confused, because such a situation had never happened before. Most people thought the bell in the dungeon hall was broken. However, those in the know were well aware that this bell would never break. After all, it was a dark gold grade item. Something major was definitely about to happen. Sensing all of this, Ning Tyran immediately came to Bai Shin's courtyard. I immediately told Bai Yuan about breaking the dungeon record. Bai Yuan just smiled slightly upon hearing this. Isn't this completely normal? It is not his first time breaking a dungeon record. However, Ning Tyran wore a solemn expression. This time is different. Do you still remember that person from over 600 years ago? Bai Yuan thought for a moment, but could not recall who it was. At that moment, Meng Anwen nearby suddenly spoke up. Are you talking about Jiang Yi, the dean of Xiaojing Academy 673 years ago? Prompted by this, Bai Yuan finally remembered. I remember he was hailed as the #1 genius of the human race back then, and the most likely to reach the super god realm. Yet he suddenly vanished for some unknown reason later on. Meng Anwen continued speaking. He did not vanish. He was murdered. Bai Yuan was completely shocked upon hearing this. How come I knew nothing about this? Besides, who could have possibly killed him back then? Meng Anwen snorted. What would an uneducated guy like you know? Old man Ning's lineage holds much more information. Let him tell you all about it. Ning Tyran immediately told him the truth. It turned out that Jiang Yi was known as the god of righteousness back then. His class was the Divine Light Swordsman. Furthermore, he was a high-level legendary class with dual talents and dual promotions. His level had even reached 98. However, a massive battle took place at Fortress No. 9 back then. Abyssal demons launched a massive assault on the human base. Even nearly 100 demon kings were dispatched. Yet at that time, the human race only had 20 god-tier powerhouses. As the strongest human, Zishan fought 50 demon kings, all by himself. Not only did he hold back the strongest ones, he also killed over 30 demon kings. That very battle laid the foundation for the human race for over 600 years. However, Zishan also fell in that battle. Hearing this, Yan Guangxing looked with great respect. Why have we never heard of his deeds? Meng Anwen at the side immediately explained. All of this was arranged by Zishan himself. He did not want the world to know about his death, and even less for the abyssal demons to find out. As long as the demon kings thought he was still alive, they would not dare to act rashly. This would buy more time for the human race. Therefore, much of the information regarding Zishan was erased. After his death, Zishan returned to Xiaojing Academy. He sealed all his power and turned it into a secret realm. And this secret realm is inside the dungeon hall. Furthermore, he had already set the rules. One could only enter the secret realm upon meeting certain conditions. That rule was to clear any held dungeon within 10 minutes. Hearing this, Bai Yuan's expression immediately turned solemn. Then is there any danger in this secret realm? Ning Tyran shook his head, indicating he was unsure. Nobody knows what is inside. Everything is unknown. Meanwhile, I was a bit dazed inside the dungeon. Having just cleared the dungeon, a secret realm entrance suddenly appeared before me. I only knew that dungeons could appear within secret realms. Yet I had never heard of a secret realm appearing inside a dungeon. What was happening right before my eyes completely contradicted everything I knew. Just then, a projection of Zishan descended into the dungeon and told me the origin of the secret realm. He also warned me that no one knew whether this secret realm was dangerous. But the decision to enter or not was entirely up to me. However, I stepped into the secret realm without hesitation, because I believed Zishan would never harm his own human descendants. After entering, I found that the world here was very similar to the outside environment. Without careful observation, it was hard to tell the difference. A narrow path appeared before me, leading toward a small village. The moment I stepped onto the path, I instantly felt a terrifying pressure bearing down from above. Without hesitation, I quickly retreated. The next second, a long sword plummeted from the sky and stabbed into the spot where I had just been standing. The ground was sliced open as easily as tofu, and the aura irradiating from the blade caused the entire space to change color. Then, a young man suddenly appeared on the path. He pulled the sword from the ground and pointed it at me, stating that I had to defeat him if I wanted to pass. My true strength as the Lord of the Undead was finally displayed inside a dungeon for the first time. Not only did I break records that had stood unbroken in the dungeon hall for hundreds of years, I even activated the inheritance secret realm of the first god-tier powerhouse in human history. Yet just as I set foot on the secret realm path, a figure swept over carrying intense sword chi, telling me that I had to defeat him if I wanted to go deeper. 2-star rings appeared on each of his wrists. This was the unique characteristic of the legendary Divine Swordsman class. 4-star rings indicated that his level was between 40 and 49. Yet when I cast a detection spell on him, I found that I could not probe any of his information at all. This made me even more certain that the man before me was extremely unusual. At that moment, the man suddenly spoke up. Save your effort. Detection spells are completely useless on me. I am a level 39 Divine Swordsman. If you want to pass, you must defeat me. Or stay here forever. Hearing his level, I was taken aback. As everyone knew, a Divine Swordsman would only sprout a 4th-star ring upon reaching level 40. Yet he already possessed 4 at level 39. Such a situation was simply unheard of. There was only one possibility. That was, the man before me was the embodiment of Zishan in his youth. Since that was the case, I did not need to hold back. I immediately raised my hand and cast the Age Curse. Red light filled the air. The moment the curse appeared, the Divine Swordsman's expression turned solemn. Then, one of the star rings on his wrist burst open with a loud sound. His sword let out a soft ring, and terrifying sword chi instantly erupted from his entire body. In the next second, the Age Curse was instantly shredded by the sword chi. Then, he transformed into an afterimage and charged straight toward me. Yet I wore a smirk. Blue flames burned fiercely in my hand. This was the first time I had used Soul Flame since my second advancement. With a 50x talent bonus and a 5x spirit attribute bonus, I didn't even know how powerful the Soul Flame had become. The Soul Flame could almost insta-kill practitioners of the same level before, let alone now. The moment the Divine Swordsman saw the Soul Flame appear, his calm expression turned to terror. A spark of flame landed on him, and he immediately let out a scream. Then, another star ring in his hand exploded, and he recovered instantly. A blast of sword chi shot toward me, but I didn't move, easily blocking it with my bone armor. The soul flame in my hand continued to burn. Seeing this, the Divine Swordsman's face filled with fear as he exploded another star ring. The sword chi surged, weaving into a dense net around me. This was the skill Sword Chi Swamp. It was an area of effect attack that also included a control effect. Sword Chi rained down on my bone armor with constant clanging, hitting me dozens of times every second. Although the frequency was high, the only downside was that the attack power was relatively weak. It was almost impossible to break through my bone armor. Moreover, the Sword Chi Swamp couldn't control me, as both my bone armor and status immunity passives allowed me to ignore its effects. The next second, Soul Flame fell once again. The Divine Swordsman let out another scream. At the same time, his aura rapidly faded. Right then, the very last star ring on his arm suddenly burst open. A sword chi descended from the air and completely engulfed me. The ground was sliced open like tofu. A smile appeared on the face of the Divine Swordsman. This move was his strongest attack skill. He believed no practitioner of the same rank could block this strike. Even if I survived, I would be heavily injured. Yet after the sword chi dissipated, I remained completely unscathed. Amidst his shock, my soul flame fell once again. Lacking the blessing of his star rings, he was instantly killed. He then turned into energy and dissipated in the air. Afterward, I continued walking toward the village. I thought I had already passed the test of the gods. But halfway there, another person appeared in my line of sight. It was the exact same appearance and attire. Even the weapon was identical. The only difference was that the star rings on his wrist were no longer 4. There were 6, and he said the exact same words as the previous Divine Swordsman. Not only did he state that he was a level 49 Holy Light Swordsman, but he also declared that I had to defeat him to pass. The Holy Light Swordsman is an evolved class of the Divine Swordsman. Its skills and stats had become even stronger. Even the star rings had increased. A Divine Swordsman gains 1 star ring every 10 levels, while a Holy Light Swordsman can gain 2 every 10 levels. Those star rings are their skills. Aside from the most basic sword chi attacks, they can not only break curses and heal the user, but also apply buffs to themselves. That was when the Holy Light Swordsman charged at me, moving even faster than the previous one, and appearing before me almost instantly. Sword chi rained down like a chaotic web. His attacks were much stronger than the Divine Swordsman's from before, but they still couldn't shake my bone armor. However, this was all within my expectations. Aside from some powerful bosses and top-tier practitioners, almost no one can shatter my bone armor in such a short time. The Holy Light Swordsman was slightly shocked to see me completely unharmed. He didn't expect a level 40 practitioner to tank his skills without taking a scratch. In his shock, he triggered another star ring. The next second, nearly 100 identical Holy Light Swordsmen appeared before my eyes. Since every single one of them had the exact same aura, it was impossible to tell the real one from the fakes. I have to admit, the Divine Swordsman's star ring skills are quite peculiar, since they can actually create clones. But compared to my Undead Legion, this is pathetic. Thinking this, I raised my hand and summoned a part of my Undead Legion. 600 skeletons attacked simultaneously, and in the blink of an eye, the 100 clones were completely wiped out. Seeing this, the Holy Light Swordsman's eyes were filled with shock. Then, the star rings in his hands exploded one after another, unleashing all sorts of powerful skills. The skeleton warriors at the front were instantly submerged in sword chi, but after the onslaught, they remained completely unharmed. Then, a skeleton warrior's great sword, glowing with a red light, slammed into him. The divine swordsman was killed instantly, without a doubt. Then I continued along the path toward the village. Just as I wondered if there would be more trials ahead, more figures appeared in my sight. His level was 59. However, the divine swordsman before me was still killed by the Undead Legion in an instant. After dealing with him, I successfully reached the village entrance. Clearly, he was the final opponent of this trial. Since that was the case, I directly unleashed the entire Undead Legion without holding back. Even though he was much stronger than the 59-level divine swordsman, he only met the fate of being instantly killed in front of the massive skeleton army above. Then a voice came from a thatched cottage. "Come in." I followed the source of the voice and walked inside. I saw an elderly man sitting cross-legged. His aura was very similar to the one outside the secret realm. Clearly, he was the legendary Zishan. So I bowed respectfully to him. Junior pays respects to Lord Zishan. Zishan waved his hand. "Little fellow, you are very good, even much more outstanding than I was when I was young. Being able to see you means the human race still survives today, and I can rest easy." Hearing this, I was a bit surprised. Junior has also heard of your deeds from hundreds of years ago. Although the human race still has not been able to eliminate the abyssal demons, we are already able to contend against them. Besides, the strongest being in our human race right now is only at the half-step super god stage. Yet Zhang Yi just sneered. Wiping out the abyss is impossible. Even if the human race truly gave birth to a super god tier powerhouse, it would still be impossible. When you reach my level, you will understand why I say this. Hearing these words, I was greatly shocked. To make someone who was once a half-step super god powerhouse so certain. Could it be that a super god tier powerhouse already existed among the abyssal demons back then? Yet if this were true, 600 years have already passed. Who knows what terrifying realm that super god tier powerhouse in the abyss has reached now? Just at this moment, 2 small boxes appeared in Zhang Yi's hands. Your strength has far exceeded my imagination, so I want to make a deal with you. I was utterly shocked. I was merely showing the items I obtained in the secret realm, yet it shocked the top god tier powerhouse of the Xinxiao Empire. It turned out that after I passed the trial of the secret realm, I finally met the #1 human powerhouse from 600 years ago, God Yi. Not only did I learn the secrets about the abyss world from his mouth, he also handed me 2 boxes. One of the boxes actually contained a severed finger. The moment I saw the severed finger, I was shocked. It was simply because I felt an unprecedented divine power radiating from this severed finger. Clearly, this did not belong to the human race, nor did it belong to demons or the dragon race. Zhang Yi told me instead that this was a severed finger of a deity. Hearing this, I was suddenly astonished. I had also obtained items related to deities within the elemental dungeon, but those were merely items. Yet this severed finger actually belongs to a true deity. Zhang Yi went on to tell me that this severed finger could help me step into the divine tier, and even give me a chance to surpass it. However, to get it, I had to agree to a deal with him. Then Zhang Yi opened another box. Inside lay a pitch-black bead. The deal was to deliver it to the boss at the center of the core area of the eternal battlefield. A storm surged in my heart. I never expected this deal to be related to the ancient earth dragon of the eternal battlefield. I had originally planned to go look for it after some time anyway. Now that such a good thing had come up, of course I would not refuse. So I agreed to Zhang Yi's deal without hesitation. However, I was still curious to ask why he did not find a divine tier powerhouse instead. After all, their strength was far greater than mine. Yet Zhang Yi just shook his head. They are not qualified to converse with it. Going there would just be throwing their lives away. And you are different. You should have the qualification to talk to it. Although I was not sure why Zhang Yi trusted me so much. Thinking back to what Yin Guangxing had told me before, I instantly understood. Even Yin Guangxing, a top-tier divine powerhouse, was like an ant in front of the ancient earth dragon. And the other party did not even bother to speak with him, leaving only a few words in the end. Clearly, Yin Guangxing was not qualified to converse with it either. Yet back in the Earth Core dungeon, it not only took the initiative to talk to me, but even wanted to make a deal with me. This was enough to prove that I had the qualification. At this moment, Zhang Yi reminded me once more not to easily expose the things inside the box, because its temptation could easily bring fatal disaster upon me. Whether it is the human race, abyssal demons, or the dragon race, they would all stop at nothing to get their hands on it. Meanwhile, back in Baishan's courtyard, Bai Yuan and Yin Guangxing looked rather solemn. No one knew what I had actually encountered in the secret realm, Meng Anwen sat with his eyes tightly closed, seemingly pondering something. It was not until the phantom of Xinxia Tower stopped spinning that he finally opened his eyes. Then, with a solemn expression, he said, Jiang Yi is not dead. Hearing this, Bai Yuan and Yin Quanxing abruptly jumped to their feet. How is that possible? Do not get too excited, both of you. And let me finish what I have to say. The reason I said he is not dead is because his physical body has already perished, but his soul has survived, and it is still right there in that secret realm. Hearing this, Yin Quanxing wore a worried look. Could this guy be planning to attempt body possession? I have heard of a skill that allows someone to take over another person's body. Just at that moment, ripples of fluctuation swept through the space. Then, my figure appeared inside Bai Shen's courtyard. Seeing that I had returned safely, the three of them finally relaxed at the same time. Bai Yuan hurriedly asked what had happened to me inside. I recounted everything I had been through to them, and also told them about the divine fingerbone. But just as I was about to open the box, Meng Anwen hurriedly stopped me. Then he pointed his finger into the air. Xinxia Tower suddenly appeared in midair. It completely enveloped the entire Bai Shen courtyard. Because even he did not recognize the material of this box, the item inside was definitely extraordinary. They had to ensure nothing went wrong. Upon seeing what was inside the box, the expressions of several people changed drastically. Damn. It really is a deity's severed finger. I thought deities were only legends. Feeling the pure aura emanating from the severed finger, Yin Quanxing suddenly burst into laughter. Lin Moyu, you really helped your master a huge favor. I always thought the more powerful the killing intent, the better. Now it seems that is not the case. The purer, the better. His epiphany came from this severed finger of a deity. It seemed Ningyi was right. This severed deity finger would cause all god-level powerhouses to fight for it, and I would need to wait until at least level 88 to use it. Thinking of this, I suggested handing it over to Zishan and the others for safekeeping. The three of them smiled happily upon hearing this. My decision made them very pleased, because during this time, they might be able to comprehend some mysteries from the deity's severed finger. Yet when I told them that Jiang wanted me to give an item to the ancient earth dragon, Bai Yuan and Meng Anwen's expressions changed drastically once again. What on earth is that guy Jiang thinking? Asking you to go find that thing is practically going to your death. However, Yin Quanxing remained extremely calm. If we went, we would definitely die. But if Lin Moyu goes, he will not. Bai Yuan and Meng Anwen looked at me in confusion. So I recounted what happened to me inside the Earth Core dungeon. After hearing my words, Bai Yuan's expression finally eased. Since that is the case, then you can indeed make a trip to the core region. However, before that, you must complete a certain task. It turned out that the three of them had already arranged a special trial for me. That was to let me participate in the annual Xinxia Tower trial. You must know that the Xinxia Tower trial is only open once a year, and there are only 500 spots each time. Every single one of these 500 people is a top prodigy from various academies or the military. However, I was not entering the Xinxia Tower as a contestant, but rather transforming into a puppet to become the trial target for these top practitioners. This meant that these 500 top practitioners would all become my whetstones. Doing this would not only enhance my combat experience and practical combat ability, but also allow me to master the combat styles and skills of various classes. Finally, I could summarize their strengths and weaknesses and integrate them into myself. However, doing this would break the past rules of the Xinxia Tower trial, and the overall difficulty would greatly increase. Yet Meng Anwen did not care. As the controller of the Xinxia Tower, he had the authority to change any rules. Although everything initially proceeded just as they had anticipated. Right on the 10th day of the trial, all the contestants felt it was strange. Why had this Xinxia Tower trial become completely different from before? Even the instructors and military generals waiting outside felt it was strange. Past trials usually only lasted 2 or 3 days, and those who failed would usually withdraw halfway through. Yet now, a full 10 days had passed, and there was still no movement inside Xinxia Tower. They all realized that the rules of this trial seemed to have been changed. Finally, someone could not help but spread the news of the trial. Soon, accompanied by spatial distortion, 2 powerful figures appeared outside Xinxia Tower. One of them was a divine-level knight from the military high command. The other divine-level mage was Xia Bojian, the vice president of Xiaojing Academy. The moment the two appeared, a massive aura swept across the entire area. Every student present felt it was difficult to breathe. The divine knight from the military spoke first. Bai Shen, please come out to see us. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure of Bai Yuan appeared instantly. His appearance immediately caused a wave of exclamation. It was simply because his reputation was too great. On the surface of the empire, he was the strongest spokesperson. His battle record was far too illustrious, earning him the title of God of Slaughter by other countries. Bai Yuan glanced at the newcomers and said indifferently, "So it is Divine General Wang. What brings you here?" Legend had it that his strength was not much inferior to Zishan. Moreover, looking at the posture of him and Xiao Bojian, it felt as though something major was about to happen. At this moment, Wang Lin said in a low voice, "I came here simply to ask why the rules of this trial were changed." Yet Bai Yuan just chuckled lightly. "Does changing the rules require reporting to you in advance?" Wang Lin waved his hand. "Naturally, I do not. This divine general is merely curious. After all, our military has people inside as well. That is why I must go in and take a look." Upon hearing this, Bai Shen let out a cold laugh. "You are not qualified to enter." As soon as he said this, the entire space began to tremble. Then, the auras of two divine-level powerhouses swept outward simultaneously. The atmosphere became tense to the extreme. I had unexpectedly become the first genius in a million years to awaken a divine talent. I even shattered the limits of class sublimation in one stroke, becoming the Lord of the Undead. Yet just as I was about to complete my class transformation, two divine-level powerhouses suddenly descended. Among them, Wang Lin, known as the King of Killers, demanded to enter the Xinxia Tower to find out what was going on. However, he was flatly refused by Bai Yuan. Yet just as the two were confronting each other, Xiao Bojian, a divine-level mage standing nearby, also stepped forward. "Lord Bai Shun, students from our Xiaojing Academy are also inside. This old man is rather uneasy as well. Therefore, I also wish to go in and take a look." Yet facing the pressure from the two divine-level powerhouses, Bai Yuan still flatly refused. Yet the more he acted like this, the more suspicious the other two became. Thus, Wang Lin said with a gloomy expression, "I heard your disciple is inside as well, and you are blocking us like this. Could there be something wrong with the trial?" Amidst his words, a terrifying aura erupted from his body. It looked like he was ready to fight at any moment. Yet Bai Yuan showed no fear at all. "Think what you will. If you want to fight, I will accompany you to the end." Hearing this, Wang Lin's gaze turned fierce. The killing intent surged around his body. Suddenly, a 1,000-meter blade light carrying boundless killing intent swept over. Seeing this, Wang Lin retreated quickly without any hesitation. That was because he sensed an extremely dangerous aura within the blade light. Then, Yan Guangxing's figure slowly flew out from Xinxia Tower. "Wang Lin, you brat. Since you want to fight, let us find a place and fight to the death." Yan Guangxing was not polite at all. He did not give Wang Lin any face. His killing intent boiled over, soaring straight into the sky like beacon smoke. The heavens and earth turned pitch black. Ever since Yan Guangxing gained enlightenment from the divine finger bone, his killing intent had become even purer. The combat power he displayed shocked Wang Lin so much that he did not dare to speak. Wang Lin knew deeply that he was no match for Yan Guangxing. He simply could not figure out why Yan Guangxing would appear here, and even help Bai Yuan. As everyone knew, his relationship with Bai Yuan had always been bad. It was considered good if they did not fight upon meeting. Furthermore, Yan Guangxing was known as the #1 madman in the world, much crazier than Bai Yuan. Facing the life-or-death showdown issued by Yan Guangxing, Wang Lin could only curse in his heart that this guy was a total madman. He did not respond. If he agreed, he might lose his life right here. Just then, Xiao Bojian stepped forward with a kind smile and spoke. "Lord of Madness, let us talk things over. We are only concerned about the students." Yan Guangxing let out a cold laugh. "Cut the crap in front of me. If you want to go in, you have to ask my blade first." Hearing this, the two of them were caught in an awkward dilemma. At that moment, Meng Anwen's voice slowly echoed from inside Xinxia Tower. "If Dean Xia does not trust me, then starting next year, Xinxia Tower will leave Xiaojing Academy." Upon hearing this, Xiao Bojian's expression changed drastically. He finally realized who the true master of Xinxia Tower was. Xinxia Tower seemingly belonged to Xiaojing Academy. But for all these years, the two had only been in a cooperative relationship. If Meng Anwen was displeased, he could take Xinxia Tower away from Xiaojing Academy at any time, and he had no ability to stop it whatsoever. With three top god-tier powerhouses like Meng Anwen, Bai Yuan, and Yan Guangxing around, who would dare to act recklessly? Besides, several other beings of the same level were close friends with them, even life and death companions. If a real fight broke out, it would be hard to win even by dragging down the entire Xiaojing Academy. Thinking of this, Xiao Bojian quickly forced a smile. It was this old man who was reckless. "Please do not take offense, God Meng." With that, he immediately stepped aside. At that moment, the Xinxia Tower suddenly began to shake. Then, a magnificent and colossal formation diagram appeared in the sky. Meng Anwen stated that he had long established a rule, forbidding military divine generals from stepping within half a step of the Xinxia Tower. Yet Divine General Wang Lin had violated it first. However, considering it was his first offense, he suddenly recalled just how terrifying Meng Anwen truly was in his memories. This single strike. Meng Anwen's voice lacked the murderous aura of Yan Guangxing. Yet it caused Wang Lin's expression to change drastically. Would serve as a minor punishment to warn him against future misdeeds. Yet at this point, there was no time left for him to overthink things. Preserving his life was paramount. Energy surged from his body toward the heavens, and his entire strength boiled over. A shield also materialized in his hand. Just as the formation diagram finished forming, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky. Feeling the terrifying destructive power contained within the lightning, Wang Lin did not hesitate to activate his life-saving skill, Ultimate Defense. While a knight's ultimate defense was merely a life-saving ultimate at lower levels. Having now reached the divine level, the skill had undergone a supreme sublimation. Under the state of ultimate defense, it became an invincible existence. Yet even so, he still felt the threat of death. The moment the lightning struck him, it burst forth with dazzling light. Accompanied by a miserable scream, Wang Lin was sent flying out of the lightning in a battered state, trailing black smoke as he vanished into the distance. Even with ultimate defense activated, he was still heavily injured by a single blow from Meng Anwen. Seeing this, Xiao Bojian wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Meng Anwen's strength completely exceeded his expectations. In his memory, Meng Anwen last made a move decades ago. Back then, he shocked the entire world. It was also around that time that he had a falling out with certain bigwigs in the military. Because of this, Meng Anwen established the rule that military divine generals were not allowed to approach Xinxia Tower. Furthermore, both he and Bai Yuan were divine generals, who held immense power and influence within the military. Yet they were completely at odds with another faction. Therefore, wherever Xinxia Tower went, the divine generals of that military faction would inevitably steer clear. Watching Wang Lin retreat in such a pathetic state, Yen Guangxing grinned and sneered. What a loser. He then turned to look at Xiao Bojian. Do you still have business here? Xiao Bojian hurriedly waved his hands. No, not at all. Please go ahead with your work, lords. I will just wait outside. At this point, how could he dare to utter another word? No matter what Meng Anwen and the others wanted to do, he could only watch, without even daring to ask. As I completed thousands of battles inside Xinxia Tower, my combat theories and combat techniques underwent earth-shattering changes, as if stepping into another realm entirely. Thinking back on how I used to command the Undead Legion in battle, I found it laughable. Now, I had a deep understanding of the combat methods of every class. I can apply these combat methods to the Undead Legion. This will surely allow the Undead Legion to unleash combat power far surpassing before. Bai Yuan and the others were very satisfied after seeing my results. They told me the next step was to level up as soon as possible, then undergo class sublimation again during the third transition. However, the prerequisite is to obtain that beam of light from the ancestral land of Chuanshan Academy. As for what that light actually is, even the knowledgeable Meng Anwen was unclear about it. He only knew that it can greatly increase the probability of class sublimation during the third transition. As for whether it has any other functions, he had no idea at all. In addition, they also told me that when the time is right, I can go find the ancient dragon. Perhaps I can get some secrets about surpassing gods from it. Afterward, Meng Anwen officially opened the true Xinxia Tower trial. The rewards that should be distributed will also be given out as usual. Just as I came out of Xinxia Tower, I happened to see Dongfang Yao walking toward me. Her visit this time was actually to ask for my help. It turns out that in the hands of the royal family, there is a level 45 dungeon. However, it currently only has normal and nightmare difficulties. According to her father calculations, this dungeon should have a hell difficulty. Yet the royal lineage has cleared this dungeon thousands of times. As a result, they still failed to make the dungeon complete its upgrade. Yet some time ago, she saw me easily upgrade the water element dungeon. A while ago, she saw me easily upgrade the water elemental dungeon, so she thought of asking me for help. In return, I would be allowed to read some ancient texts held by the royal family. These texts hadn't even been seen by Bai Yuan, despite him being a god-level expert. However, I had to guarantee that the contents would not be leaked, not even to Bai Yuan and his group. Additionally, once the dungeon upgrade was complete, I could make one request of her, and she would grant anything within her power. I originally intended to refuse, but Dongfang Yao told me that the dungeon was an electric elemental one. I was shocked to hear this. I hadn't expected the electric elemental dungeon, one of the 5 great elemental dungeons, to be in the royal family's possession. No wonder Bai Yuan had no idea where it was. So, I agreed without hesitation. I finally completed the trial and broke through my professional limit. Not only did I find a way to get talent bonuses for rune skills, but I also uncovered the truth about the Wild Chong land and the ancient giant dragons. It all started when I agreed to Dongfang Yao's request, and she took me to the Imperial Palace's library. To my surprise, the guardian of the library was actually a god-level expert. Dongfang Yao walked over and poured a cup of hot tea for the old man. Grandpa Li, you remember what I told you before, right? The old man nodded. He then took a few books from the side and placed them on the table, each exuding an ancient aura. The old man then looked at me and said impatiently, "I'll only give you 1 day." I frowned slightly. The elderly man in front of me felt a bit arrogant. I clearly saw at least 100 books on the bookshelf. Yet he only let me look at a mere few. This was completely different from what Dongfang Yao promised. It was obvious that the old man was intentionally making things difficult for me. So I remained completely still. My gaze also began to grow cold. If that was how it was, I would rather not read them at all. Dongfang Yao immediately noticed this. She quickly whispered a few words in the old man's ear. The old man suddenly opened his eyes and looked at me. Upon seeing the divine general badge on my shoulder, his gaze instantly changed. His attitude also underwent a complete 180-degree transformation. So it was divine general Lin. With that, he waved his hand. The next second, all the books on the bookshelf flew over. Afterward, I picked up a book and began to read. Only after reading did I discover that they recorded a vast amount of deep secrets. They even recorded the secrets of the Origin Secret Realm. A very small number of people who entered the Origin Secret Realm managed to retain their rune skills. However, according to what they said, the strength of the permanently retained skills would be somewhat reduced. As for the situation inside the Origin Secret Realm, no one knew. That was because those who came out had all lost that period of memory. Seeing this, my eyes burned with fighting spirit. Since someone could retain the skills of the Origin rune, then I could do it as well. If rune skills could become my own skills, even if the skill strength would be somewhat reduced, with the enhancement of my comprehensive boost talent, this skill would only become stronger. By then, my combat power would rise to an unimaginable level. Compared to the Origin Secret Realm, information on the Dragon King's Palace dungeon was even scarcer. While many knew of its existence, very few had ever entered, mainly due to a lack of qualifications. Ancient texts recorded that Jiang Yi had entered before, but there was no follow-up information. I read quickly, browsing through all the ancient books in just half a day. I learned a lot of hidden knowledge from them, deepening my understanding of this world. Dongfang Yao asked if I had gained anything. I nodded slightly, noting that there was indeed some information unavailable outside. It was just a pity I did not find what I was looking for. Seeing this, Dongfang Li beside us asked, "What does Divine General Lin wish to know? Perhaps this old man can help." I told him I wanted to know about the barren void and the data on the boss at the center of the core area of the eternal battlefield. Dongfang Li was shocked upon hearing this, admitting that an ancient book did indeed record such information. However, not even the royal family members were qualified to read that book. Remembering my identity, he took a deep breath and waved his hand. An even more ancient book flew out from the depths of the formation. The information you want is inside. Ordinary people cannot see it. Even the 6th princess is not qualified to view it. I naturally understood that he said this simply to make me remember this favor. So I nodded. I will remember this senior's favor. Then I began to examine the ancient book. Although there was not much information inside about the wild void and that person, the information above was enough to shock me. It turned out that the entity in the eternal battlefield was actually connected to the wild void, and it had already existed as early as the founding of the Xinxia Empire. Wild beasts from the wild void once killed their way into the eternal battlefield. Whether it was the monsters inside or the bosses, none were a match for the wild beasts. Yet in the end, these wild beasts were slain in the core area of the eternal battlefield. From this, I realized that wild beasts are not unkillable. It just depends on whether your strength is sufficient. After reading it, I took a deep breath. This news was simply too useful to me. It seems this favor must be repaid. Afterward, I followed Dongfang Yao to the Lightning Element dungeon. My only requirement was that after the dungeon finished upgrading, I needed to clear this dungeon a few more times. Dongfang Yao was very surprised upon hearing this. She originally thought I would make some excessive demand, but she did not expect my request to be so simple. However, just as she was about to respond, a low shout suddenly came from behind. Since when does an outsider get to call the shots in our royal dungeon? Dongfang Yao's expression changed slightly when she saw who had arrived. A handsome young man was walking toward us. He looked about 10 years older than Dongfang Yao. Although I couldn't see his exact level, I could tell he was around level 45. It was clear his talent was far inferior to Dongfang Yao's, and his manners were even worse. Dongfang Yao was quite annoyed by this. She had gone to great lengths to invite me to help upgrade the dungeon, only for some brainless royal brother to barge in. With no other choice, she told me who her brother was. Then she tried to tell Dongfang Shun who I was. But Dongfang Shun didn't give her a chance to speak. He walked straight up to me and started ranting. Where did this nobody come from, talking so boldly? Since when does someone like you get to make decisions for our royal dungeons? Dongfang Yao's expression changed drastically upon hearing this. She knew exactly how insulting those words were to a divine general. A dangerous glint flickered in my eyes. In my mental world, The domain divine stone began to rotate slowly. Suddenly, a terrifying killing intent erupted from my body. The soul flame flickered wildly in my palm. An aura of extreme danger washed over him. The previously arrogant Dongfang Shun was suddenly filled with terror, but it was too late for regrets. A blue flame suddenly descended, and he curled up on the ground, screaming in agony. I didn't use my full power. I only used a tiny bit of mental energy to control the damage from the soul flame. Otherwise, with his physique, he would have been killed instantly. In the past, I couldn't control the power of my skills. After the trial at Xinxia Tower, I could control my skills at will. Dongfang Yao wanted to plead for him, but she did not know how to speak. After all, Dongfang Shun had said things that were too outrageous. He actually dared to call a dignified divine general a nobody. It was already merciful that I did not kill him. However, the screams of Dongfang Shun attracted the attention of others. Powerful auras swept across the area. Dozens of figures stood in the void. Without exception, they were all top-tier practitioners above level 70. Their overwhelming auras surged straight into the sky. Upon seeing the situation here, their expressions changed drastically. How bold! You dare to attack a prince right inside the imperial palace. Their arrival gave Dongfang Shun a surge of confidence. You are finished for daring to lay a hand on me. And you can forget about leaving this place alive. Just as they prepared to make a move against me, Dongfang Yao rushed over to stop them. She explained the whole sequence of events to them. Everyone was stunned upon learning my identity. They never expected that I was the youngest divine general of the Xinxia Empire. I was also the disciple of both the Berserk God and Gadi. Any single one of those identities was shocking enough. Especially the identity of a divine general, which was enough to stand on equal footing with divine-tier powerhouses. They were not bold enough to attack a divine general. Even as members of the royal family, they could not bear the consequences. Then, everyone cast their gazes toward the second prince, Dongfang Shun. To dare call a divine general a nobody. That is simply courting death. Even if the sovereign were here, he would have to treat a divine general with utmost respect. What do you think you are, with no military merits and no contributions? Hiding behind the status of a prince. Who gave you the nerve to insult a divine general? Most of the people here have served in the military, and know what status a divine general holds in the army. If anything were to happen to me here today, not to mention by Yuan and Yin Quanxing, the army would march over from the origin battlefield in less than a day. They would not care about any royal family or anything of the sort. In the eyes of soldiers, the divine general is the heavens. Dongfang Shun trembled amidst the accusations. Not daring to talk back at all, I finally broke through the shackles and stepped into the inheritance dungeon of the God of Thunder. Yet just as I was about to clear the level, I witnessed with my own eyes the battle of the fall of the God of Thunder. I even witnessed the true strength of the desolate Beast King. It turned out that after I settled the matter with Dongfang Shun, I entered the lightning element dungeon. The next moment, I appeared at the entrance of a huge valley. Everywhere here were spirit monsters made of lightning, ranging from level 46 to 47. I immediately thought that upgrading this dungeon must have something to do with speed. Otherwise, the monsters here could not possibly be so dense. Although Dongfang Yao said they had also tried killing a large number of monsters in a short time, it still failed to upgrade the dungeon. Yet I believe that their speed simply was not fast enough. With a thought, I summoned my entire Undead Legion. Then, 12,000 skeletons began advancing at maximum speed. They cleared out all the monsters in the valley in just 3 minutes. That was more than 10 times faster than the Imperial team. Yet this still failed to trigger a dungeon upgrade. It seemed this dungeon was not triggered by speed and complete clearing. As soon as I stepped past the entrance of the valley, 6 fork roads suddenly appeared before me. According to the information provided by Dongfang Yao, any of these 6 paths would eventually lead out of the valley. However, the Dongfang family had tried walking every single path, and none of them worked, until my eyes suddenly lit up. The maximum player limit for entering the dungeon was exactly 6. Could it be that every practitioner needed to walk a single path alone? Thinking of this, I immediately divided the Undead Legion into 6 teams, and had them enter the 6 paths separately. As the monsters in all 6 fork roads were cleared simultaneously, the entire dungeon began to shake. Seeing this, I was overjoyed. It seemed I had guessed correctly. This was indeed the condition to trigger the dungeon upgrade. Soon, news of the dungeon upgrade reached the ears of Sovereign Dongfang Yi. Dongfang Yao also told him what had just happened at the dungeon entrance. Hearing the whole story, Dongfang Yi flew into a rage. He immediately ordered the second prince Dongfang Shun to be assigned to the military front line. After the dungeon finished upgrading, the Sea of Lightning inside the valley became even more violent. Its power increased by at least several times. An orb appeared in the center of the Sea of Lightning. Clearly not an ordinary item. Trying to get it under this level of lightning strike would be as hard as ascending to heaven. Even an Earth Knight running ultimate defense could not last 5 seconds in the sea of lightning. I felt no fear at all. I put on a layer of bone armor and walked straight into the sea of lightning. Even though the violent lightning hammered against me like raindrops, I finally reached the center of the lightning sea before the bone armor shattered. The moment I grabbed the bead, the entire sea of lightning instantly erupted. Countless flashes of lightning poured into the bead from all directions. In the blink of an eye, the sea of lightning completely vanished. Only this single bead was left floating in the air. Lightning Gem. Permanently grants 50% immunity to lightning element damage, with a chance to acquire a lightning skill. I activated it without hesitation. Just when I thought I would only get the lightning immunity trait, a large amount of lightning suddenly swirled around me, then condensed into a pair of giant wings behind my back. I gained the skill Lightning Wings. It grants the ability to fly for 1 minute, with a cooldown of 10 minutes. Seeing the skill traits, I was overjoyed. I never expected to actually master a new skill, and it was a flight skill I had dreamed of. Pity that the comprehensive boost talent did not provide any bonus effect to Lightning Wings. Judging from past situations, the comprehensive boost talent works on the vast majority of skills. Only a few skills do not generate bonuses, such as the army strengthening skill formed by origin runes, and the light blessing brought by the light gem. None of these receive the talent bonus. If skills obtained from gems can't be boosted by the talent, then why did the toxic star ring from the toxic gem get a boost? This really puzzles me. But now isn't the time to dwell on this. Collecting all the electric elemental crystals is the priority. After crossing the valley, I arrived at a swamp. The swamp was filled with level 47 thunder marsh lizards. Their total attributes were 150,000. This would be quite tricky for other practitioners in their 40s. But for me, they weren't a threat at all. The Undead Legion simply plowed right through them. I soon reached the center of the swamp. There, I found a small plant enveloped in lightning. The moment I saw it, it reminded me of the Fire God flower from the Fire God Palace dungeon. Clearly, this plant served almost the same purpose. So, I reached out to grab it. But just as my palm was about to touch the plant, a giant palm suddenly knocked me back several meters. Then, a giant beast appeared before me. Obviously, it was the boss monster guarding the plant. A level 48 held difficulty boss, the Lightning Ape. Its total attributes were only 170,000. That's only 20,000 higher than the ordinary Thunder Marsh lizards. And its traits were basically the same. It only had one additional trait, Vitality Strengthening. Facing the terrifying Undead Legion, it lasted less than 2 seconds before collapsing with a scream. It was simply too weak. With my current combat power, challenging a level 45 hell difficulty dungeon was no trouble at all. If there were no level restrictions, I would have gone straight for a level 50 or even 60 hell difficulty dungeon. After all, the higher the dungeon level, the more experience I would gain, and the gear drops would naturally be better. However, I didn't really care about the gear. What I cared about was the experience. Leveling up brought me far too many benefits. With every level I gain, the Undead Legion's strength increases significantly. Then, I picked that small blade of grass. It was called electric grass. It could be used to awaken the god of thunder. Now, all I needed was the key to the Thunder God's palace. After that, I crossed the lightning swamp and arrived at a wasteland. There wasn't a single monster here. Only a flash of lightning caught my eye. It was a 100-meter giant sword thrust into the ground. The giant sword was completely wrapped in lightning. Driven by curiosity, I walked toward it. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flew out from the sword and struck me. My bone armor instantly erupted in a brilliant light. Then, a small crack appeared on it. This was the first sign of damage to my bone armor since my second-class advancement. I was quite shocked. It wasn't that the lightning's attack power was that high, but rather that the attack frequency was too fast. I took at least 1,000 hits per second. I immediately equipped a new set of bone armor. But in just a few seconds, the bone armor was damaged again. Fortunately, my current mental power is basically inexhaustible. I start to speed up. Along the way, I have to replenish my bone armor every few seconds. Before I know it, I arrive in front of the giant sword. Yet the moment I touch the giant sword, a strange fragment of memory floods into my mind. I see a towering giant, wielding a giant sword to unleash one terrifying attack after another. Under its attacks, desolate beasts are blasted into dust one by one. I can feel the terrifying power contained within the attacks. From this, I can tell its strength is far greater than Bai Yuan and Yan Quanxing. However, just at this moment, a terrifying beast appears in the vision. I instantly recognize that this beast is the Desolate Beast King. I saw it back when I changed my class in the Barrens. Even Bai Yuan and Yan Quanxing could only flee when seeing it. It even inflicted heavy injuries on Meng Anwen with a single blow, showing just how powerful it is. At this moment, the Desolate Beast King pounces on the God of Thunder. Immediately afterward, the vision shatters into pieces. Seeing this, my eyes widen. A powerful deity is killed in an instant by the desolate beast king, just like that. It is simply unbelievable. Then, a desolate emotion is transmitted from the giant sword. Following that, an inexplicable sense of loneliness arises in my heart, carrying a faint sorrow. I understand that all of this comes from the emotions of the giant sword. So I softly say to the giant sword, I know you are very lonely. Perhaps there will be a chance in the future. I will awaken your master. As soon as I finished speaking, the giant sword shrank rapidly, becoming the size of a palm in an instant. The Thunder God Sword. The blade of the god of thunder and lightning. And the key to opening the Thunder God Palace. Not only did I perfectly fuse the elemental divine stone for my class advancement, but I also obtained a rare grade lightning skill. But just as I was preparing to leave the palace, I was unexpectedly pulled into the realm of rotting corpses, a place known as the Land of Death. It turns out that after I obtained the key to the Thunder God Palace, a giant eagle over 30 meters long suddenly swooped down. It was surrounded by lightning and possessed an extraordinary aura. It looked like this was the final boss of the dungeon. I thought its stats might put some pressure on me, since it was, after all, a level 45 hell difficulty dungeon. But when I saw its stats, I laughed. It was incredibly weak. Its total stats were only 210,000. Its traits were exactly the same as the lightning ape from before. Ever since my second class advancement, was like an ant in my eyes. Moreover, my strength had increased significantly after the trials in the Xinxia Tower. Therefore, the Thunder Eagle before me didn't interest me in the slightest. I just wanted to end the fight as quickly as possible. So, I raised my hand and cast a K-curse. Then, with a thought, I summoned the Undead Legion. However, the Thunder Eagle still tried to resist, despite facing an undead army thousands of times stronger than itself. It spat out a thunder bead that landed on the ground and exploded. In an instant, the area within 1,000 meters turned into a sea of lightning. But the Undead Legion within the sea of lightning remained completely unharmed. My Undead Legion had always been most resistant to this kind of continuous damage. Now, with the summoning lifelink talent, I feared it even less. The Lich General could instantly heal any damage with a simple healing spell. Seeing that the Undead Legion was completely unharmed, the Thunder Eagle in the sky instantly realized it was no match for me. Without a second thought, it turned around to flee. However, the attacks from the skeleton mages and skeleton sharpshooters were already primed. A dense barrage of elemental skills and sharp arrows exploded all over its body. Screaming, the Thunder Eagle plummeted from the sky. The system notified me that I had slain the Thunder Eagle. Experience increased by 4.9 million. I obtained the Lightning Longsword and the Lightning Dagger. I also got 4 Lightning Crystal Shards. Lightning Longsword. Gold grade weapon. All attributes plus 1,200. Sword type skill boost, 60%. Attached skill, Lightning Slash. Deals 100% of the user's strength as damage to the enemy, along with an additional 100% of strength as lightning elemental damage. There is a chance to paralyze the enemy for 5 seconds. Cooldown, 1 minute. Lightning Dagger. Gold grade weapon. All attributes increased by 1,200. Assassin skill proficiency boosted by 60%. It comes with the skill Lightning Stab. It deals lightning elemental damage to the enemy equal to my own strength attribute. It inflicts a paralysis effect once every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. The cooldown is 5 minutes. Although both of these gold grade weapons come with attached skills, they can only be considered bottom tier. What surprised me was the number of lightning crystal fragments dropped. Combined with the piece dropped by the lightning ape just now, I have just enough to synthesize a lightning crystal. This dungeon trip has been quite rewarding. Not only did I unexpectedly acquire the lightning wing skill, but I also witnessed the battle where the god of thunder fell. I also learned about the terrifying strength of the desolate beast king. Even deities were no match for it. I wonder how it compares to the entity in the eternal battlefield. Afterward, I exited the dungeon. Sovereign Dongfang Yi and Dongfang Yao had been waiting outside for a long time. When I came out, Dongfang Yi wore a smile on his face. Divine General Lin is truly young and promising. I have been hearing legends about Divine General Lin lately. The younger generation is indeed formidable. Seeing who had arrived, I quickly bowed respectfully. You flatter me, Sovereign. Then, Dongfang Yi began to apologize to me regarding Dongfang Shan. He told me that if I needed anything, I could ask directly. As long as it was within the imperial family's capabilities, they would surely grant it. This was a promise from him as a sovereign and a god-tier powerhouse. However, I did not take the matter with Dongfang Shan to heart. Besides, I still owed Dongfang Li a favor. So I expressed my thanks. I told him to feel free to ask if he ever needed my help with anything. My words made Dongfang Yi extremely happy. He had been worried that I would mind Dongfang Shan's actions. Now, not only did I not mind, But I had also grown closer to the royal family. This was the outcome he wanted most. After they left, I ran the dungeon 5 more times in a row. I now had 6 thunder elemental crystals in my possession. Then I fused 2 of them into the elemental divine stones. The elemental divine stone, used during third transition, can increase the career sublimation chance by 30%. The second elemental divine stone lacked a toxic crystal, so its effect was slightly different. It seemed I needed to get my hands on a toxic crystal when I had the chance. Next, I needed to head to the dungeon hall to level up. So I asked Dongfang Yao to take me out of the palace. Dongfang Yao immediately activated the teleportation array. Yet the moment we stepped into it, seeing this, I suddenly felt a pang of panic. This situation was very similar to what happened back in the Dragon Race Outpost dungeon. Dongfang Yao was also witnessing this for the first time. Her entire body instantly tensed up. She immediately tried to contact her father, Dongfang Yi, only to find that all communication devices had failed. Just like that, we spent a full 5 minutes teleporting before finally landing. Yet going from the inside of the palace to the outside should have taken at most 2 seconds. Judging by the speed and duration of the teleportation array, the distance far exceeded the borders of the Xinxia Empire. What came into view was a ruined forest. A cold wind carrying a stench rushed into my nostrils. Seeing the situation here, Dongfang Yao instantly panicked. This is the corpse realm. Seeing her panic, I immediately took out the Abyss Teleportation Stone, only to find that the Abyss Teleportation Stone was completely dim at the moment. There are only 2 possibilities for it to lose its function. First, the corpse realm is shrouded by an extremely powerful barrier or formation, blocking all teleportation items. Second, the corpse realm is extremely far away from the abyss, exceeding the limit of the teleportation stone. After all, the energy of the Abyss Teleportation Stone is limited, and the distance also has certain restrictions, calculated by the time it took to teleport here from the palace just now. Both situations are possible, so I had to ask Dongfang Yao what kind of place the corpse realm was. She told me that the corpse realm is an ancient small world. A great battle broke out here a long time ago. At that time, someone cast a terrifying skill here, causing everyone in this world to turn into corpses. And once a person is bitten by a corpse, they will also be infected and turn into one. My father once told me some things about the corpse realm. The reason why our Dongfang family can become the rulers of the Xinxia Empire is not because we are so strong, but because our Dongfang family shoulders the heavy responsibility of guarding the corpse realm. Before the Xinxia Empire was founded, the corpse realm already existed. There was a time when the corpses inside the corpse realm rushed into the human world. Fortunately, one of the ancestors of the Dongfang family used their life to block the rotting corpses. Later, guarding the corpse realm became the responsibility of our Dongfang family. Therefore, after the establishment of the Xinxia Empire, our Dongfang family became the royal family. Just at this moment, 2 rotting corpses rushed toward us. I casually released bone fangs and blasted them into Swiss cheese. To my surprise, they quickly grew new bodies again and lunged at us once more. Seeing this scene, Dongfang Yao let out a scream, as if she suddenly remembered the secret her father had told her in the past. So she quickly told me that there are secret realms in the center of the corpse realm. There are teleportation arrays inside the secret realms that can lead back to the human world. However, she did not know how to get to the center of the corpse realm, so I had no choice but to deal with the 2 rotting corpses in front of me first. I immediately cast a detection spell, only to find that they had no information other than their names and levels. However, although their level was only 5, no matter what kind of damage the skeleton warrior dealt to them, they could recover very quickly. Even when reduced to a pile of scraps, they could still restore themselves. Yet this felt wrong to me. Even existences as powerful as desolate beasts could be killed, let alone mere low-level rotting corpses of level 5. So I began looking for a way to suppress their regeneration ability. But what I never expected was, their existence was actually related to the myth-grade equipment, Creation Scepter. Unexpectedly, the first genius in a million years to awaken a divine talent was framed by the imperial family and fell into the corpse realm. However, this infuriated the #1 divine array master of the Xinxia Empire. Therefore, even Dongfang Yi, who was the ruler of a nation, broke out in a cold sweat. It turned out that just when I cleared the lightning element dungeon and prepared to leave, I was unexpectedly teleported to the corpse realm, a land of death. Soon I discovered that the monsters here were immortal. Even though the skeleton warrior inflicted all sorts of damage, they recovered instantly. Since physical attacks were useless against them, I decided to try a soul attack. I raised my hand and released a soul flame at one of them. As it turned out, the soul flame had no effect on them whatsoever. I realized something instantly. These corpses were not living entities, and their bodies possessed no souls. That was why the soul flame had 0 effect on them. At that moment, Dongfang Yao endured her weakness and spoke up. My father once told me that the corpses in the corpse realm cannot be killed. Yet I shook my head. There is no such thing as an indestructible entity in this world. Only a failure to find the right method. With that, I immediately summoned a skeleton archmage. The skeleton archmage cast Elemental Blast, instantly blowing the corpse to smithereens. Moreover, most of its cells were annihilated in the elemental explosion. Only tiny fragments, almost invisible to the naked eye, remained. Yet I quickly noticed they began to regenerate in the rain. This time, however, the process became extremely slow. To fully recover their original appearance would take at least a few years. I initially thought the skeleton archmage could completely destroy them, but as it kept casting Elemental Blast, I never received any kill notifications. Although I could not kill these corpses, I had at least found a way to suppress their regeneration speed. Next, I needed to find the exit Dongfang Yao mentioned as soon as possible and return to the human world. So we began our search, not daring to rest for a single moment. Along the way, we encountered a few more rotting corpses. The skeleton archmage blasted them all to pieces. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yao spent the journey thinking about the teleportation array. She knew for sure that someone had tampered with it, and this person had to be very familiar with the rotting corpse realm. She soon identified her suspect. It was Dongfang Shun's biological father, Dongfang Tua. He was the only one in the entire Dongfang family who knew the location of the rotting corpse realm. After hearing her, I let out a cold laugh. Is he not afraid that I might return alive? Dongfang Yao shook her head. Perhaps he never even considered the possibility of us returning alive. After all, even a god-level expert would be in danger in the rotting corpse realm, let alone us. Moreover, even if we were lucky enough to make it back, we wouldn't have any concrete evidence. Hearing this, a murderous intent surged in my eyes. Even if there is no evidence, sometimes evidence isn't needed at all. I hope the Dongfang family doesn't pick the wrong side when the time comes. Dongfang Yao felt a chill run through her body. My words terrified her. No one had ever dared to threaten the Dongfang family like this. Yet now, they were being threatened by a level 40 kid. Just then, a heavy rain began to fall, accompanied by flashes of lightning. I noticed that the rotting corpses became extremely active in the rain. They were even more sensitive to the scent of living people. Soon, a rotting corpse charged toward us. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck a corpse. Its body was blasted to pieces. I thought it would die right then and there. But a second later, I was stunned. Electric sparks began to emanate from the fragmented corpse. Then, its body quickly reconstructed itself. And the reconstructed corpse was clearly stronger than before. Curious, I cast a detection spell. It turned out its level had actually increased by 5. It seems this lightning can trigger the evolution of these corpses. That gave me a bold idea. What would happen if I got struck by lightning without my bone armor? Of course, the thought was fleeting. In this eerie world, I would never try something so reckless without being completely sure. Then, the skeleton archmage blasted the corpse into pieces. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yi was frantic over Dongfang Yao's disappearance. Although they found that the teleportation array had been tampered with, it was extremely difficult to determine the teleportation direction. Even the imperial family's top array master was clueless. You have to understand, Zhang Heyu is a level 89 array master, just one step away from god tier. Yet even he had no solution. Dongfang Yi fell into despair. That's when Zhang Heyu mentioned there might be one person who could help. That would be the human race's top array master, Meng Anwen. The world knows him as Anshan, a figure on the same level as Bai Yuan. However, many people don't know enough about him. He is also the #1 alchemist of the human race. Although there are a few rare dual-class practitioners among humans, he is the only human powerhouse to achieve godhood through dual classes. Hearing this, Dongfang Yi immediately transformed into a streak of light and rushed towards Xiaojing Academy. Now, only he could personally step in to get Meng Anwen to move. Anyone else would not be qualified. Especially since this time, it is not just Dongfang Yao who went missing, but also me. As far as he knows, my relationship with Meng Anwen is quite close. He firmly believes Meng Anwen will definitely take action for my sake. Things went just as he expected. Meng Anwen arrived at the Imperial Palace immediately to investigate the issue with the teleportation array. Yet when Meng Anwen detected my location, his expression changed drastically. Why would they be teleported to the corpse realm guarded by your Dongfang family for generations? Hearing this, Dongfang Yi was struck with panic. Impossible. After the corpse realm was sealed, the only passage is simply not here. How could they teleport through here? At this moment, Meng Anwen was still sensing the teleportation array. Then a trace of a cold smile gradually appeared on his face. Not a bad trick. They actually used a seal-breaking firestone to briefly breach the seal, and performed a random teleportation. Dongfang Yi was completely stunned upon hearing this, because the seal-breaking firestone is not something from the human race, but rather an item belonging to abyssal demons. This shows that the person behind the tampering has connections with abyssal demons. His first reaction was to think of the Demon Worship Society. Furthermore, this Demon Worship Society member has already infiltrated their Dongfang family. However, Meng Anwen could not care less about the trivial troubles of their Dongfang family. He just wanted to get me out of there as fast as possible. After all, the corpse realm was a terrifying world left over from an ancient war. The longer someone stayed inside, the more dangerous it became. So he quickly asked Dongfang Ben how to reach the corpse realm. Yet Dongfang Yi just sneered, stating that there was no way to bring anyone back. Hearing this, Meng Anwen's expression turned cold. Say that again. The aura of a divine-level powerhouse continuously surged upward. The temperature in the entire imperial palace plummeted instantly. Meng Anwen had not made a move in decades. Nobody knew just how terrifying his true strength was. Seeing this, Dongfang Yi quickly explained. Then he led Meng Anwen to a specific space. A magnificent array was set up within this space. The formation was still operating slowly. Meng Anwen frowned at the sight, because the formation before him was actually divine level. Then he directly struck out with a rune. Spirit of the formation, come out. Only divine-level formations could nurture a formation spirit. Furthermore, the formation spirit possessed a certain degree of intelligence. The level of its intelligence depended on the grade of the formation and how long it had been set up. And the formation before them had been established for an unknown number of years. The formation spirit inside would inevitably possess considerable intelligence. At this moment, a huge ball of light emerged from the formation. Respected divine-level formation master, welcome to your arrival. I am the spirit of the demon sealing formation. It really can communicate, and its intelligence is indeed quite high. However, it is only responsible for guarding the corrupted corpse realm seal and issuing warnings. It has no way to enter the corrupted corpse realm at all. Yet the formation spirit told him that forcing his way in would cause the formation to self-destruct. At that time, all the energy would reinforce the seal. No one below the half-step transcendent god level can force entry. Meng Anwen did not doubt the words of the formation spirit. He could sense the terrifying energy contained within the formation. Once it was all used to reinforce the seal of the corrupted corpse realm would be as solid as gold for at least a few decades. By then, even if he went inside, he would not be able to come out. However, the formation spirit told him some good news. In the central area of the corrupted corpse realm, there is an exit. The humans inside can return through it. Hearing this, Meng Anwen finally breathed a sigh of relief. After the formation spirit disappeared, the killing intent on his body surged once more. Next, it was time to deal with the matter of your family's betrayal. If Xiaoyu returns safely, you can continue to be the royal monarchs. But if something happens to him inside, then your Dongfang family can be buried along with him. My genius sister actually made a move against the royal family for my sake. Not only did she heavily injure dozens of top-tier practitioners from the royal family right in front of the monarch, she even directly destroyed the only teleportation formation for entering and exiting the palace. As it turned out, just moments ago, when Meng Anwen learned that those below the transcendent god level could not enter the corrupted corpse realm, he immediately issued a harsh warning to the Dongfang monarch. If Xiaoyu returns safely, you can keep your royal throne. But if anything happens to him inside, Xinxia Tower will descend in person, with God Yi's fists, the furious god's blade, and the military battle formations. I doubt any of you want to face even one of those. Dongfang Yi's expression turned extremely grim. He never expected that his majestic royal family would be reduced to this state because of a single person. Then Meng Anwen continued. Xiaoyu is not only the disciple of God Yi and the furious god, but his older sister is also the sole disciple of that person at Chuanshan Academy. And she is the only one. So you better pray Xiaoyu comes out of the corpse realm safely. Hearing this, Dongfang Yi's expression changed drastically. He did not expect this matter to be so serious. The most important thing now was to find the mastermind hidden within the royal family. Perhaps there might still be a turning point then. However, when he arrived at Dongfang Tuo's room, he discovered that Dongfang Tuo had already fled long ago. Even his son, Dongfang Shun, was nowhere to be found. Seeing this, his expression turned very ugly. Dongfang Tuo's departure completely confirmed the whole affair. This was simply an utter humiliation for the Dongfang family. A human traitor who colluded with the Abyss appeared right within the royal family. It was a complete scandal. Dongfang Yi immediately issued a series of orders. He issued a wanted warrant for Dongfang Tuo on the charge of treason. Not long after Meng Anwen returned to Xinxia Tower, terrifying killing intent burst out from Xinxia Tower. The sky over Xiajing City instantly turned pitch black. The killing intent blanketed the entire imperial palace like dark clouds. A suffocating and terrifying pressure swept down. Almost all imperial family members were alarmed. Even Dongfang Li in the secret realm was awakened. As a level 92 divine powerhouse. Upon feeling this pressure, He instantly realized that the other party was far stronger than him. Soon after, another divine powerhouse from the royal family rushed over. With a solemn expression, he said, "This is the murderous aura of the Mad God. When did we offend the Mad God?" At this moment, Dongfang Yi also rushed over. He let out a deep sigh, and then recounted everything Dongfang Tu had done. Hearing this, the two turned pale with shock. They both stated that they must find Dongfang Tu, wanting to see him alive or his corpse if dead, and thoroughly investigate the entire family, to see if any other members of the Demon Worship Society were hiding among them. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yao and I continued walking through the corpse realm. The levels of the rotting corpses we encountered along the way were gradually increasing. The corpses we ran into earlier were all level 10, but now the ones we met were all above level 15. This phenomenon made me suspect that the characteristics of the corpse realm were just like the eternal battlefield, where the closer we got to the center of the world, the higher the level of the corpses. So I started using the level of the corpses as coordinates to move forward. At that moment, bolts of lightning illuminated the dark earth, striking the rotting corpses accurately. The corpses struck by lightning began to evolve. This sight sparked that crazy idea in my mind once again. I wanted to see what would happen if I were struck by the lightning myself. So, the moment the lightning arrived, I immediately deactivated my bone armor, letting the lightning hit me directly. Surprisingly, I wasn't injured. I only felt a current of electricity surging through my body, and my body felt slightly warm. A second later, the system notified me that I had obtained Creation Lightning, and I gained 100,000 experience points. I finally understood why the corpses struck by lightning would evolve. Although I could gain experience by being struck, the amount was actually quite small. I then shared my discovery with Dongfang Yao. Dongfang Yao looked surprised when she heard this, as she had never heard of anything like it. However, she couldn't just stand there and get struck by lightning like I did, because she didn't have the damage transfer or summon lifelink talents. She simply couldn't withstand the lightning strikes. Over the next few days, whenever I encountered a thunderstorm, I would intentionally get struck by lightning. But it wasn't for the sake of a bit of experience. I noticed that after every strike, a tiny bit of heat would remain in my body. This heat was known as Creation Lightning. My sixth sense told me that this Creation Lightning was extraordinary. If I accumulated enough of it, it might have some wonderful effects. So, I spent the rest of the journey searching for lightning. Over the past few days, I have been struck by lightning at least 100 times. The warm current inside my body is getting stronger and stronger. 7 days have now passed since we entered the corpse realm. We have traveled over 3,000 kilometers in these 7 days. The level of the rotting corpses we encounter along the way is also getting higher. The corpses we encounter now have already exceeded level 20. Level 20 corpses can evolve to level 24 after being struck by lightning. This is because the experience required for them to level up has increased. At the same time, I discovered a pattern in them. Those upgraded corpses actually left this area. Therefore, I guess that corpses of different levels have their own active zones. As long as we follow the direction of these corpses, we can reach the center point. Although I still want to look around for lightning to strike myself. The most important thing now is to find the exit and return to the human world, because the ancestral land of Genesis Academy is about to open. This concerns whether I can achieve a class sublimation during my third transition. The reason why my stats can be so terrifying is because I underwent a heavy class sublimation during my second transition. So if I want to push my stats to the limit, I must undergo class sublimation again during the third transition. Meanwhile, my sister Lin Mohan also learned the news about me. She immediately broke into the Imperial Palace alone. A squad of guards watching the teleportation array immediately stopped her, yet with just a few gentle waves of her sword. This guard team, with an average level of over 60, was heavily injured all at once. Then, with a few more swords, she directly destroyed the teleportation array outside the palace. However, her actions instantly alarmed the others in the palace. In an instant, dozens of terrifying auras swept over. They were all powerhouses over level 70. Upon seeing the teleportation array destroyed, several top-tier practitioners attacked Lin Mohan without a word. Yet they were severely injured by her in a single exchange. This shows just how powerful Lin Mohan has become. Then Lin Mohan's voice echoed through the entire palace. If anything happens to my younger brother Xiaoyu inside, I will slaughter your entire Dongfang family. Hearing this, some elder family members in the main hall immediately prepared to make a move. But they were stopped by the ruler, Dongfang Yi. He reminded them that Lin Mohan is my biological sister. However, Dongfang Zhan, a god-tier powerhouse, could not swallow his anger. Even if Divine General Lin's matter was our fault, for her to brazenly storm the palace like this. Where is the dignity of the Dongfang family? She is only level 70. I will go over and send her away. At most, I will spare her life. Dongfang Yi shook his head upon hearing this. It is not that simple. Lin Mohan is the disciple of that person. And furthermore, the only disciple. Hearing these words, everyone gasped in unison. The person whom Dongfang Yi referred to as that person is the only one in the entire human race. At this moment, everyone was cursing inwardly. Who asked that damn Dongfang Tua to provoke anyone? Of all people, these two freaks? Who would dare to make a move now? If a single hair on Lin Mohan's head is harmed, that person will likely step in personally and wipe out the Dongfang family. Right now, they can only pray that I do not suffer any misfortune. Otherwise, the Dongfang family really is finished. At that moment, Dongfang Yao and I stepped into a completely different area. The monsters here were not just rotting corpses. There were also creatures very similar to the Abyssal Hound. The moment I saw the Abyssal Hound, I suddenly understood one thing. Abyssal demons also participated in the Great War that created the realm of rotting corpses years ago. While pondering, I cast a detection spell at the magic dog. I found out its name was Rotten Magic Dog. Its level was 40. The startled Rotten Magic Dog immediately charged at me. In the distance, another corpse was also rapidly rushing toward me. Its speed was faster than any corpse I'd seen before. After inspection, I discovered that this corpse was also level 40. Clearly, this area was the domain of intermediate corpses. However, mere level 40 corpses still could not stop the attacks of the skeleton archmage. Just one blast blew the Rotten Magic Dog and the intermediate corpses to pieces. After finishing, I slowly walked into the area covered by lightning. Finally, my unique hidden class, the Necromancer, was about to welcome its exclusive weapon. And it was a divine tier equipment of the Lord class that controlled life and death. The storm damage in this area was about 10 times higher than in the low-level area. However, in order to win the creation lightning, I resolutely walked into the minefield. A moment later, a bolt of lightning carrying faint black lines landed on my body. The passive skill and comprehensive boost talent were triggered instantly. The system prompted that I had obtained creation lightning. Experience plus 1 million. At the same time, a warm current 10 times larger than before entered my body. In the blink of an eye, the warm current inside my body reached its limit. Then, a sudden transformation occurred. Electric arcs erupted all over my body. At the same time, I realized that one of my attributes was changing. My original 50% immunity to lightning element damage had now increased to 60%. Combined with my 5x element damage reduction, 10,000 points of lightning element attack damage would only deal 800 points to me in the end. That was a reduction of a full 12 times. And those 800 points of damage would still be split among all my summons. And this was just a minor change in attributes. An even greater change was still underway. A scepter suddenly appeared in the palm of my hand. The scepter was only the size of a palm, composed entirely of lightning elements. At the top of the scepter was a lightning symbol, embedded on it like an exquisite gemstone. Creation Scepter, damaged. It can be repaired by absorbing creation lightning. Although it looked like a weapon and piece of equipment, it did not have any attributes. I looked at the dense thunderclouds in the sky, then activated lightning wings without hesitation and rushed upward. Dongfang Yao, who was outside the storm in the distance, was startled by this scene. She did not expect that I could actually fly. You must know that only top-tier practitioners possess the ability to fly. The moment I drilled into the thundercloud, I was locked onto by the lightning. Dense bolts of lightning crashed down upon me, as if trying to expel an uninvited guest like me. As countless beams of light fell upon me, a series of prompts popped up continuously. My experience points were soaring rapidly, and the warm current inside my body was growing at a frantic pace. Dozens, or even hundreds of times faster than before. When the warm current reached its limit, it turned into lightning and flowed into the Genesis Scepter. The Genesis Scepter instantly grew a bit brighter. Seeing this, I suddenly understood. It turned out I had to use my own body as a medium to absorb enough Genesis lightning, and then transfer it to the Genesis Scepter. At the same time, I realized how harsh this condition was. Aside from myself, probably no one else could pull this off. After all, I possessed both damage transfer and comprehensive link talents, allowing me to distribute the lightning damage across tens of thousands of Undead Legion troops. And I naturally had extremely strong resistance against lightning elements. If it were anyone else, a single bolt of lightning would likely have reduced them to ashes. As I absorbed more and more lightning, the Genesis Scepter became increasingly bright. However, the offensive momentum of the lightning was gradually decreasing. 1 minute later, lightning wings entered its cooldown, and I fell back down from the sky. Although the Genesis Scepter in my hand was much brighter than before, it was still in a damaged state. My own experience had increased by a full 10%. In just a brief minute or two, it surprisingly matched clearing 5 dungeons. At the same time, I noticed my lightning immunity stat had increased once again. The biggest boost was when I condensed the Scepter of Creation, which increased it by 10% directly. Now, despite absorbing a much larger amount of creation lightning, it only increased by 1%. I simply cannot understand this. However, I've realized one thing. Perhaps this trip to the Rotting Corpse realm is a rare opportunity for me. As we continued forward, the monsters along the way gradually grew stronger and their levels increased. But for me, there was still no pressure at all. With a few skills from the skeleton mages, the monsters were blown to pieces before they could even get close. Dongfang Yao even felt that the Rotting Corpse realm didn't seem as dangerous as her family had described. Along the way, I constantly changed directions, searching for storms because I needed a large amount of creation lightning. In the blink of an eye, Dongfang Yao and I had been in the Rotting Corpse realm for a month, and I had absorbed tens of thousands of bolts of creation lightning. Unknowingly, my level rose to 41, and all 4 of my attributes saw a huge increase. My spirit attribute increased by 6,300, and the other 3 attributes increased by 840 each, totaling about 8,800 points. This level of improvement was staggering. It was 90% higher than the attribute gains of a mid-tier legendary practitioner. If this continues, once my level reaches 70, my attributes will reach a terrifying level. Afterward, I continued searching for storm clusters to absorb creation lightning, and my experience value rose to 30% again. I feel like I could easily gain a few more levels in the corpse realm. The increase in my lightning element immunity has slowed down. So far, my lightning element immunity has only reached 75%. Even after absorbing a vast amount of lightning, the creation scepter remains damaged. Though it is brighter than before, it is still far from being fully restored. Over the past month, Dongfang Yao and I traveled together and entered the level 50 monster zone. There, I encountered decayed abyssal demons and corrupted members of the dragon race. This finally confirmed that the Great War back then broke out between these 3 races. After entering this area, I summoned another 100 skeleton archmages. Even against level 50 corpse monsters, we were able to pass through without any trouble. Soon, we arrived at a different kind of region. The land ahead began to change, with sulfur-like swamps appearing across the surface. The air also carried a strong, pungent smell. This reminded me of the core area of the Eternal Battlefield, where the environment also changed upon entering the core. After entering the core area, the environment changed. Clearly, our location no longer belonged to the level 50 zone. Instead, we had entered a higher level area. This sight instantly reminded Dongfang Yao of what her father had told her back then. She told me this area was called the Bone Melting Land. These swamps all possessed extremely strong corrosiveness. Moreover, a terrifying monster existed within them. Therefore, for safety's sake, I summoned 100 skeleton warriors to clear the path ahead. Meanwhile, 100 skeleton archmages surrounded us as we moved forward. As soon as the berserk skeleton warriors entered the bone-melting land, the corrosive gas in the air constantly dealt damage to them. Fortunately, the damage dealt was not significant. At the same time, the bone armor on my body was naturally activated. Seeing this, I immediately cast a piece of bone armor on Dongfang Yao as well. Dongfang Yao looked at me with a grateful expression. She understood that without me, she could never have walked here. Just at this moment, an unknown creature emerged from the swamp. Then, it directly attacked the nearest berserk skeleton warrior. Seeing this, I immediately threw a detection spell at it. Foul-smelling octopus. Level 60. However, judging from the damage it dealt to the berserk skeleton warrior, the only difference was that its attacks carried a strong corpse poison. Then, the skeleton archmages cast elemental explosion on it. This monster was instantly blown to pieces. Yet the commotion attracted even more foul-smelling octopuses, which continuously emerged from the swamp. There were as many as 100 of them. At this moment, the 100 skeleton archmages began to struggle a bit. So I summoned several hundred more skeleton archmages. Soon, all these smelly octopuses were blown to pieces by the skeleton archmages. Right at that moment, the world suddenly lit up. Lightning split the sky. A lightning storm appeared before us. Moreover, this lightning was far more terrifying than anything we had encountered before. I knew that this lightning contained an even greater amount of creation lightning. If I could absorb all of it, I would be able to repair the mysterious creation staff even faster. It was repaired. And unexpectedly, it opened a new secret realm. It even hid a shocking secret within. It turned out that after Dongfang Yao and I stepped into the burial ground, we immediately encountered hundreds of level 60 rotting octopuses. Just as the skeleton mages cleared them all out, a lightning storm suddenly appeared ahead of us. And this lightning was much more terrifying than what we met previously. Yet looking at the storm, I showed a hint of eagerness. Because I knew the creation lightning contained inside would be even more abundant. If I could absorb them all, I could repair the creation lightning even faster. So I charged straight into the center of the storm. In an instant, a massive amount of lightning struck down. System prompts popped up continuously. As expected of lightning in a level 60 area, The experience gain was actually several times more than that of a level 40 area. This showed that the creation lightning would not be scarce either. As massive bolts of lightning struck my body, the creation lightning scepter grew brighter and brighter. At the same time, the Undead Legion suffered terrifying damage. Even with my 75% lightning damage immunity and a trait that reduced damage fivefold, the damage from the lightning was still too much for the skeletons to bear. They had no time to recover while inside the summoning space. Watching their health bars plummet rapidly, I immediately summoned out the entire Undead Legion. The next moment, 20 Lich generals cast Legion heal simultaneously. The injuries of the skeletons began to heal swiftly, although the massive damage from the lightning kept transferring onto them. The healing speed of the Lich generals far exceeded the damage. This allowed me to enter a state of ignoring lightning attacks once again. As vast amounts of creation lightning poured into the creation lightning scepter, the scepter became increasingly luminous. The cracks on the gem were gradually repairing themselves. At the same time, my lightning element immunity trait showed signs of further improvement. Once the creation lightning within the storm was completely absorbed, over half of the cracks on the creation lightning scepter had also vanished. I realized that finding just a few more storms would fully restore the scepter. By then, I would finally know just how powerful the creation lightning scepter truly was. So I began searching for storm clusters in this land of bones. After searching for 3 days, I only found 2. After absorbing the lightning, my experience reached 88% of level 41. My lightning element immunity trait also reached 79%. Only a single crack remained on the creation lightning scepter. Finding just one more storm would allow me to advance to level 42 and give the creation lightning scepter a high probability of being fully repaired. Thinking of this, a trace of joy appeared on my face. Over the past 3 days, we have ventured another 2,000 kilometers deeper. We started encountering corpse monsters exceeding level 64. Their combat power is at least 3 to 4 times that of level 60 monsters. The skeleton archmages need to cast elemental blasts 2 or 3 times to blow them apart. Moreover, the monsters here all appear in groups. At this moment, more than 300 corpse monsters appeared before our eyes. Their levels are all between level 64 and level 65. Fortunately, the number of skeleton archmages is large enough. It took only a moment to clean them all out. Seeing this scene, Dongfang Yao looked at me with immense admiration. It is a good thing it is you, because anyone else would have had only a dead end. However, at this moment, I was very puzzled. We have been in the corpse realm for half a month already, yet we have not encountered a single boss-tier corpse monster. Could it be that the corpse realm does not have bosses at all? Regarding this question, Dongfang Yao was also unclear. Just at this moment, the distant sky suddenly flashed. Immediately after, claps of thunder echoed over. Seeing this, I immediately rushed toward the direction of the sound. I originally thought this would be the storm I had been searching for so bitterly. Yet upon arriving nearby, I abruptly discovered this storm was much larger than any storm encountered previously. Before even getting close, the bone armor on my body was creaking. I understood that as long as I absorbed the creation lightning in this storm, I would definitely level up. Moreover, there is a high probability the creation staff will also recover. Yet right at this moment, Dongfang Yao seemed to have discovered something. She pointed at the center of the storm and said, "Look over there, a gigantic monster has appeared right in the center of the storm. It stands over 30 meters tall, giving off the overwhelming presence of a small mountain. Lightning from the sky keeps striking its body, only to be completely absorbed by it. Seeing this, I immediately cast detection spell on it. It is a mixed putrid monster, a boss-tier creature. At level 66. I am shocked after reading its description. I thought the corpse realm did not have any bosses at all. Yet the monster before me is unquestionably a boss. Even after scanning it, there are still no stat details available, leaving me completely in the dark about its attributes and skills. After absorbing the lightning, its aura seems to grow slightly stronger. Then it charges straight at me at full speed. I show no fear whatsoever, instantly ordering the skeleton warrior to meet it head-on. However, in the next second, the skeleton warrior is sent flying from the impact. Seeing this, my expression shifts slightly. You have to realize that a level 41 skeleton warrior, buffed by Legion skills, already boasts a strength stat reaching 170,000. Yet even so, it was still knocked away. Clearly, this boss's strength stat exceeds 200,000. As the boss closes in on me rapidly, I directly summon my entire Undead Legion to counterattack. Thousands of skeleton warriors unleash their skills simultaneously, their broadswords flashing with red light as they slash into the boss. Right after, the elemental explosions of the skeleton archmage detonate across its body, while arrows from the skeleton sharpshooter pierce the air and strike true. Under this triple assault, the boss's body rapidly starts to disintegrate. Immediately afterward, a strange roar bursts from its mouth. The next second, a massive force erupts from its body and sends the skeleton warriors flying with tremendous impact. At the same time, all of these skeleton warriors are infected with corpse poison. The corpse poison even starts spreading to other skeletons. Even when the Lich General uses the cleanse skill, it cannot be resolved. In an instant, at least hundreds of skeleton warriors are poisoned. Therefore, to minimize casualties among the skeletons, I immediately have the poisoned skeleton warriors surround the boss, while recalling all the remaining ones back into the summoning space. Using them to surround and attack the boss is more than enough. After all, the outer perimeter still has the skeleton archmages and skeleton sharpshooters providing ranged support. As the Undead Legion continuously unleashes their skills, the boss is completely destroyed in less than a minute. However, it has not truly died. It has merely been blasted into fragments. It will regenerate after some time. What gives me a headache now are the several hundred skeleton warriors infected with corpse poison. This corpse poison is contagious and will not disappear until the target dies. Although the comprehensive link talent prevents them from dying outright, it forces all other members of the Undead Legion to share the damage along with them. This means the corpse poison will only disappear after the entire Undead Legion is wiped out, or if I dismiss the skeletons and resummon them. I finally realize how tricky corpse poison can be, turning my own advantage into a disadvantage. Fortunately, the Lich General has healing skills, so it will not pose a fatal threat to the Undead Legion in the short term, since there is no other way. The most important task right now is to absorb the lightning in the storm first. So I release my lightning wings and charge straight into the storm clouds. As massive bolts of lightning strike my body, the huge damage is rapidly transferred to the skeletons. Then system notifications pop up continuously, and my experience points are increasing rapidly. In just half a minute, a leveling up glow radiates from my body. At the same time, the last crack on the creation scepter slowly disappears. The entire scepter instantly erupts with brilliant white light. Creation scepter, which is incomplete, can be repaired using a life core. Obviously, the missing part is the life core mentioned in the description. But I have no idea what a life core actually is, nor do I know where to look for one. Just as I am pondering what kind of weapon the creation scepter really is, another massive wave of lightning strikes. But this time, their target is not me, but the creation scepter in my hand. As all the remaining lightning lands on the creation scepter, the scepter grows increasingly bright. Immediately afterward, ripples spread through the space nearby. A glowing giant gate appears right in front of me. Seeing this, I am shocked, never expecting that the creation scepter would actually open a secret realm. Here it comes. My strength has finally ushered in a new round of transformation. Not only have I obtained the ancient heritage of a higher deity, but I have even successfully comprehended the power to become a super god-level powerhouse. It turns out that right after I repaired the creation scepter, a gateway leading to a secret realm suddenly appeared in the sky at the center of the storm. Just as I was preparing to go in, my skill lightning wings happened to reach its duration limit. I fell straight down from the air. I had no choice but to first deal with the hundreds of poisoned skeleton warrior. I asked Dongfang Yao, but she did not know of any way to cleanse the poison. Since it could not be cured, I could only dismiss the skeletons and summon them again. I never expected that after awakening the comprehensive boost talent, there would come a day when I had to actively dismiss my summons. At the same time, I realized my talent was not entirely flawless. With a thought in my mind, over 400 skeleton warrior poisoned by corpse venom instantly turned into piles of shattered bone. The corpse venom also quickly dissipated into thin air. When that was done, I took advantage of the cooldown of lightning wings to start summoning skeletons. This would just refill the vacant spots in the Undead Legion. Ever since reaching level 42, my summoning space had reached 660 slots. The number of Lich General had also increased to 22. Each Lich General could command 660 skeletons. That brought the total number of skeletons to 314,520. The overall strength of the Undead Legion was enhanced once again, with the blessing of nearly infinite mental power. It took me only half an hour to fully replenish my skeletons. At this point, the cooldown of lightning wings had also just finished. So I brought Dongfang Yao and flew into the secret realm. The world inside the secret realm was completely different from the corpse realm. Here, it was bright, warm, and full of vitality. The moment I entered the secret realm, the creation scepter shot out a beam of light straight into the distance. Seeing this, I suddenly understood. The creation scepter was guiding the way for itself. Thus, we began moving forward in the direction of the guidance, until I walked into the estate. A transparent barrier suddenly appeared, separating Dongfang Yao and me. No matter what Dongfang Yao tried, she could not pass through the barrier into the estate. I immediately guessed it might be because of the creation lightning. So I handed the creation lightning over to her. Yet Dongfang Yao could not take it no matter what. It was as if the creation lightning was completely illusory to her. She could see it but could not touch it. After a few tries, Dongfang Yao finally gave up the idea of entering. So I left an Undead Legion to protect her and walked inside. However, I looked around the estate several times and found nothing unusual. Only a lifelike statue stood tall in the center. Just as I approached the statue, the creation lightning on my body proactively flew out and burst into dazzling light. The next second, the entire statue began to glow. The statue actually transformed into a woman. Seeing this, I immediately became alert and asked who she was and why she appeared here. The moment she saw me, her gaze became extremely gentle. She told me that she was the former goddess of life and also the master of the corpse realm. Hearing these words, I was completely shocked. I had all sorts of guesses about the creation lightning, with the greatest possibility being a legendary weapon. Yet I never expected the creation lightning to be related to a deity. What surprised me most was that she claimed to be the master of the corpse realm, yet there was no mention of it at all in our human records. Sensing my doubts, the goddess of life immediately told me the truth. It turned out the outside world was once called the creation realm. The reason it became the corpse realm was because of an extremely terrifying skill. The one who cast that skill was also a deity. His skill not only killed everyone from all three races, but also included himself. Hearing this made my hair stand on end. Was it not just a war between three races? How did deities get involved in it as well? And he even used a skill to perish together with them. Afterward, I asked the question I had wanted to know all along. That was what kind of existence deities actually were. She told me that deities are divided into low, middle, and high tiers. The goddess of life ranked among the high-tier deities, with strength comparable to a level 97 divine powerhouse of the human race. Hearing this, I was somewhat shocked. You must know that Bai Shun and the other two were level 95 divine powerhouses, who were already the pinnacle existences of the human race. Yet, even with the three of them combined, they would still not be able to defeat the level 97 goddess of life. It was hard to imagine just how fierce that great battle back then had been. Even the goddess of life, who was a high-tier deity, had fallen. I did not understand what the deity who cast that skill was aiming for. However, the goddess of life told me this was all because of the creation scepter. Because at the start of the war, she was not yet a deity, and only became the goddess of life after obtaining the creation scepter. Hearing these words, I finally understood the true purpose of the creation scepter. It could make someone become the goddess of life. Its value far exceeded any legendary weapon. No wonder it sparked such a great war. I just wondered if the creation scepter would have any effect on the human race. But the goddess of life stated that it would have an even greater effect on humans. Humans who comprehend the power within the scepter have a chance to become super god-level experts. Demons similarly have a chance to become demon emperors. The dragon race could potentially elevate their bloodline to become dragon emperors. Although the scepter of creation is now in my hands, the god of life before me is merely her final will, not even a soul. That is why she doesn't know the whereabouts of the life core. However, she used her remaining strength to gather a pseudo-life core for me. With the addition of the life core, the scepter of creation's attributes changed. It allows me 3 opportunities to use god-level power. But it is only equivalent to the power of a level 90 human. Once the god of life completely vanished, the entire secret realm disappeared instantly. A second later, Dongfang Yao and I reappeared in the corpse realm. But immediately after, a terrifying aura surged from the surroundings. Then, a massive tail slammed heavily into me. Although I activated my bone armor to block the attack, it shattered upon impact. This sudden attack made me realize something was wrong. After looking around, I discovered that I was already in the central area. This was exactly where I had been searching for the teleportation exit. But I felt some concern when I thought about what the god of life had said. Because the Great War back then broke out right in the center of the corpse realm. Most of the corpse monsters here are above level 80. There are even many god-level experts who have turned into corpses. So, I immediately summoned the Undead Legion to search for the teleportation exit. Finally, I found a teleportation array in an inconspicuous spot. After Dongfang Yao confirmed it. This teleportation array was indeed left behind by the Dongfang family. But just as we were preparing to enter the teleportation array, a dragon tail swept across, and thousands of skeletons were sent flying instantly. The Undead Legion suffered heavy damage. 22 lich generals went wild with their healing spells. A huge dark shadow descended from the sky, blocking our path. I could tell at a glance that it was a corrupted dragon race member. It was over 500 meters in size, resembling a massive mountain. I sensed an aura of extreme danger coming from it. I instantly realized that its power in life was at least close to the divine level. Even though the corruption made it far weaker than before, it was still close to level 90 nonetheless. Without hesitation, I activated the rune skill on the back of my hand. Instantly, the stats of the skeletons reached their absolute limit. Every basic stat of the level 42 skeleton warriors had reached 130,000. And under the effect of army strengthening, it suddenly soared to 390,000. Combined with the Legion Fortify skill from the Lich generals, their individual stats reached a staggering 546,000, while their total stats even exceeded 2 million. Moreover, under the blessing of army strengthening, all damage dealt by the skeleton warriors increased by an additional 500%, coupled with their own skills that could deal 500% of their strength as damage. It was impossible to calculate just how terrifying the attack power of the skeleton warriors had become. The great swords in their hands flashed with red light and crashed heavily onto the giant dragon. The elemental explosions of the skeleton archmages also unleashed unprecedented destructive power. Dragon scales began to fall off its body one by one. Clearly, the attacks of the skeletons had already surpassed its defense limit. It roared in anger and continuously lashed out with its tail to counterattack. Yet, bolstered by army strengthening, the skeletons experienced a massive boost in defense. Therefore, the damage dealt by the dragon was greatly reduced. It was completely unable to deal fatal damage to the Undead Legion. In an instant, the dragon's body was riddled with holes. An even more terrifying aura flew out from another peak. As it turned out, just as I was about to finish off the corpse dragon, an even more terrifying aura quickly flew over from another peak. Seeing this, my expression grew solemn. The dragon in front of me had not even been dealt with yet, and now another even more terrifying corpse had arrived. Moreover, the duration of the army strengthening skill was about to end. This gave me an unprecedented sense of crisis. Right at that moment, that corpse landed in the center of the Undead Legion. The staff in its hand smashed down from the air, instantly splitting the earth and causing the winds and clouds to change color. The terrifying force blew all the surrounding skeletons away, and they took no small amount of damage. Its power was far more terrifying than the dragon's just now. At this time, the skeleton warriors raised their great blades and charged toward it. Yet it merely swung its staff a few times and swept away all the skeleton warriors that got close. However, the long-range attacks from the skeleton archmages and skeleton sharpshooters could still hit it. Instantly, countless energies and sharp arrows exploded on its body. Through the light, I finally managed to see the appearance of this corpse. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a human powerhouse. Even though it was already decayed, though it can still be recognized, its combat power clearly surpasses the previous giant dragon. Even the skeleton berserkers under army strengthening are no match for it. I even suspect that it had reached the divine level during its lifetime. Thinking of this, my expression turns grave. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yao is already activating the teleportation array, so I begin ordering the skeleton berserkers to launch attacks in batches, to buy some time for her. Watching the skeleton berserkers repeatedly getting knocked away, an idea strikes me. The next second, a lich general rushes in front of the human corpse. Although the lich general has no attack power, it is the summon with the highest defense among all. Its base constitution alone reaches 270,000. After receiving the army strengthening skill and its own buffs, its constitution attribute has already exceeded 1.1 million. If anyone can withstand this corpse's attacks, it has to be the lich general. The corpse's club smashes heavily onto its body. It does not retreat, even half a step. The remaining 21 lich generals quickly cast healing on it. Seeing this, I immediately have the lich general stall the human corpse, while the rest of the skeleton army turns to attack the heavily wounded dragon. Because the army strengthening skill only has 15 seconds left, if I fail to deal with that dragon within 15 seconds, I will end up facing two major formidable foes at once. Under the full assault of the Undead Legion, the dragon corpse is finally completely destroyed 6 seconds later. I quickly shifted my target to the human corpse, yet until the army strengthening skill completely faded, this human corpse still refused to fall. It had only suffered minor injuries. The next second, the army strengthening skill entered cooldown. All attributes of the skeletons receded like a tidal wave. The lich general, which was barely holding on, was instantly sent flying. Then, the human corpse charged into the skeleton horde and began a massacre. At that moment, powerful beings slumbering within the mountains awakened one after another. A huge tree appeared in the sky. The moment it appeared, shock struck my heart. Its silhouette had appeared in the Great War described by the god of life. Furthermore, it was a plant-type deity. It had wreaked havoc in that ancient war. Later, a human powerhouse beat it into critical condition and forced it to flee the battlefield. I never expected it would still be turned into a corpse by a taboo skill. It was even stronger than the human corpse before me, and it was stronger by more than just a little. Dozens of willow branches then hung down from its body. In the blink of an eye, they split into thousands. They then pierced through space and whipped up a large number of skeletons. The swept-up skeletons had no ability to resist and turned into piles of shattered bones. My full connection talent became useless at this moment. This made me realize my talent was not all-powerful. Clearly, the divine tree before me possessed means to ignore my talent. In just 2 seconds, over 1,000 skeletons were killed, coupled with the human corpse continuously attacking the Undead Legion. Only 10 seconds passed before the number of skeletons in the Undead Legion dropped below 4,000. At the same time, Dongfang Yao's activation of the teleportation array reached its final stage. The light on the barrier grew brighter and brighter. However, she told me it would still take 10 seconds to fully activate the teleportation array. I knew it would be hard to hold out for these final 10 seconds on my own. So I thought of the Creation Scepter. This was my last remaining trump card. It possessed the power to unleash an attack equivalent to divine-level might. Yet the moment I pulled out the Creation Scepter, the surrounding mountains violently shook. Countless terrifying auras surged straight into the sky and pressed down toward me. I suddenly realized I had made a mistake. The corpses here had fought to the death over the Creation Scepter in the past. Even though they were already dead, their obsession with the Creation Scepter had not disappeared. And by taking out the Creation Scepter now, I was undoubtedly drawing all their fire. Yet if I did not use it, I would probably die just the same. Right at that moment, the rotting giant tree locked onto me. All of its willow branches shot forward like lightning. I instantly felt the threat of death. So I raised the Creation Scepter without hesitation and aimed it at the rotting giant tree. Suddenly, a flash of black light swept past. All the willow branches were cut down by a sword beam. A dark figure abruptly appeared in front of me. He wore armor and held a sharp sword. These 2 pieces of equipment had not eroded after countless years. Clearly, they were both legendary existences. And their master was once a divine-level powerhouse of the human race. The dark figure lowered his head to look at me, and then glanced at the Creation Scepter in my hand. A look that did not belong to a corpse flashed unexpectedly within his eyes. I raised the Creation Lightning without activating it. I knew activating it would be completely useless. This person was simply too strong. He was strong to an unimaginable degree. Then he swung his long sword and instantly soared into the sky. He clashed fiercely with the rotting giant tree. In a split second, countless willow branches were severed. Seeing this, I was deeply shocked. He was actually protecting me. He was protecting his own race. Clearly, he had been turned into a corpse by a forbidden skill. Yet his final will had been preserved. At that moment, another powerful existence descended. Several god-level entities had been left behind from that great battle of the past. As soon as they appeared, they locked onto the Creation Lightning in my hand. None of them were beings I could possibly fight against. Right after that, another human god-level powerhouse appeared to block the attack for me. Such events happened one after another. The shock in my heart had reached an indescribable level. What kind of willpower could remain unerased by time? To transcend life and time itself? A deep sense of respect welled up in my heart. Just then, Dongfang Yao's voice reached my ears. She told me the teleportation array had been activated, and we could leave this place. Hearing this, I quickly stepped into the teleportation array. I took one last look back at the human god-level powerhouses locked in battle, vowing that if there was ever a chance in the future, I would definitely resurrect them. The moment Dongfang Yao and I vanished from the corpse realm, the aura of the Creation Scepter vanished right along with us. The intense battle between the powerful figures halted almost instantly. They all retreated to their respective peaks and went back into hiding. Silence fell over the corpse realm once more. Darkness blanketed the land again. Meanwhile, deep within the grand formation beneath the Imperial Palace, the spirit of the formation slowly materialized. It transmitted the news outward using mental telepathy. Before long, the 3 god-tier powerhouses of the royal family received the message simultaneously. Surprise and joy swept across all 3 of their faces. Dongfang Yi immediately headed to the underground formation space alone. At the same time, Meng Anwen, who was thousands of miles away, also received the news. In the next second, he appeared right in front of the formation spirit. When Dongfang Yi arrived, he found that Meng Anwen was already there. He quickly stepped forward to show his utmost respect to Meng Anwen. Even though god-tier experts generally stood on equal footing, Meng Anwen's overwhelming strength commanded his deep respect. Meng Anwen merely let out a soft hum without paying them any mind, instead turning to confirm my return with the formation spirit. Upon receiving confirmation from the spirit, he finally let out a breath of relief. Dongfang Yi could not hide his joy either. My safe return was nothing short of incredible news for the Dongfang family. A moment later, the killing intent that Yin Guangxing had cast over the palace receded like a tide. Clearly, he had also received word of my return. I had finally returned to the Xinxia Empire from the corpse realm of the Deathlands. However, when I displayed the gear I had obtained, it shocked the 3 pillars of the Xinxia Empire. As it turned out, right as I was teleporting back from the corpse realm to the Xinxia Empire, the erased spirit immediately transmitted the news out. Elder Ming arrived at the scene instantly to confirm the situation. At the same time, the 3 divine tier powerhouses of the Dongfang family also came to the teleportation array in person to welcome me. Meng Anwen looked at the 3 of them and said coldly, "Now that Xiaoyu is back, you can explain it to him yourselves." With that, he vanished from the spot in a flash. Soon, Dongfang Yao and I appeared within the teleportation array. Seeing the members of the Dongfang family, my gaze turned slightly cold. Even though I had returned safely, for such an incident to happen inside the Imperial Palace, the Dongfang family bore unshakable responsibility. If not for sheer luck, I might never have made it back at all. Unlike the eternal battlefield, the corpse realm was extremely distant and completely shrouded in seals. Even though I had left my soul imprint in the Hall of Heroic Souls, I would not have been able to resurrect if I died inside. That was precisely why Meng Anwen and the others had been so furious, even willing to start a full-scale war with the Dongfang family. Knowing they were in the wrong, Dongfang immediately gave me a promise, assuring me that they would give me a satisfactory explanation regarding this matter and provide sufficient compensation. Hearing this, I dropped the matter for now. I would just wait for their compensation. At that moment, Dongfang continued, "Your sister Lin Mohan has been waiting outside the Imperial Palace for over a month. However, the teleportation array leading outside the Imperial Palace has already been destroyed. Why not let me fly Divine General Lin over there?" I shook my head and declined his offer. Immediately afterward, I activated the wings of lightning and flew toward the outside of the Imperial Palace. Seeing me release a flight skill, Dongfang was somewhat shocked. You must know that flight skills are extremely rare throughout the entire human race. They allow practitioners to play a tremendous role before reaching level 70. Then he asked Dongfang Yao what happened in the corpse realm over the past month or so. He was very curious about how he managed to return from the corpse realm. Although he knew I was very powerful, there were quite a few strong existences within the corpse realm, especially in the central region, where god-level powerhouses were not in short supply. No matter how strong I was, it should have been impossible to escape from their hands. Dongfang Yao immediately told him everything about her experience in the corpse realm. Lin Mohan, who was waiting outside the Imperial Palace, saw me and her eyes instantly turned red. Then she grabbed me in a tight embrace. At the same time, tears fell uncontrollably. It turned out that a month ago, her master calculated that I had encountered mortal danger. Therefore, she put aside her cultivation without hesitation, went alone to the Imperial Palace to demand an explanation, and even destroyed the teleportation array within the palace right in front of the ruler. Yet even so, she still worried about me with every passing day. Now seeing me return safely, the stone in her heart could finally be put down. I never expected her to do so much for me, even being willing to go to war with the Imperial family. After exchanging warm words of concern, she told me she had to go back and continue leveling up, because this incident had completely disrupted her teacher's plan. Our next meeting would probably have to wait until she reached the god level. However, judging by her current leveling speed, reaching the god level did not seem too far away. That was because her talent allowed her to level up 10 times faster. She took less than 2 years to go from her class change to level 70. Such leveling speed was truly unprecedented. On the other side, Dongfang was shocked after hearing about what happened in the corpse realm. He never imagined that I would actually obtain the creation scepter there. That was the very root cause of the Great War back then. Countless powerhouses stayed behind in the corpse realm just to get their hands on it. One could only imagine just how powerful the creation scepter truly was. Legend even had it that possessing it gave one a chance to surpass the divine level. After parting ways with my senior sister, I immediately returned to the White God Courtyard. I recounted the entire experience of the corpse realm trip to Bai Yuan and the others. Upon learning that I had obtained the creation scepter inside, Bai Yuan immediately burst into loud laughter. He never expected that something those people fought to the death for back then would end up in the hands of his disciple. Now, they only needed to find the life core, and Xiaoyu would have a high chance of becoming a super divine level powerhouse. However, Meng Anwen did not think this was a good thing. Relying on external objects to step into the super divine realm was not the optimal choice. Yin Guangxing also strongly agreed with Meng Anwen's view. Still, the creation scepter was a mythical grade equipment that surpassed the legendary grade. Its stats after being repaired would definitely be terrifying, and it could still be used as a weapon. What they did not know was that my class made it impossible for me to rely on external objects even if I wanted to. After my second class change, I became almost entirely repellent to all equipment. I had no idea what kind of equipment I could even use. Then, I asked them about the thing I wanted to know most right now. That was, under what circumstances could my talent be nullified? Because a similar situation had actually occurred back in the corpse realm. Yin Guangxing had a unique understanding of this problem. He told me it might be because the opponent's attack was too strong. It was strong enough to cut off the link to my talent. Then he asked me to summon a skeleton to demonstrate for him. I immediately summoned a skeleton berserker. Then Yin Guangxing casually waved his hand to deliver a blade strike. A massive surge of blade aura burst forth. It swept across the skeleton carrying a terrifying murderous intent. In a split second, the skeleton berserker was instantly destroyed. Seeing this, my heart skipped a beat. My comprehensive boost talent had no effect in front of him whatsoever. Yin Guangxing immediately pointed out the weakness of my comprehensive boost talent. Whether the opponent had a strong enough talent or high enough attack power, they could bypass my talent and directly destroy the skeletons. When it came down to it, this happened because my own strength was too weak. At that moment, I thought of those human race powerhouses who saved me in the corpse realm. Even though they had already fallen, their wills remained undying for a long time. So I asked the teachers if there was any way to resurrect them. But the answer I got was that there was no chance at all. However, the God of Life had told me that such a thing was not impossible. Perhaps this was just a difference in information between Bai Shun and the others and the God of Life. In any case, if given the chance, I would definitely resurrect those people. Then Bai Yuan patted my shoulder and said, Dongfang, you will definitely come over to apologize in a couple of days. When the time comes, your master will help you bleed him dry. The Dongfang family has controlled the empire for so many years. They have plenty of good stuff. So do not come back here for the next few days. Afterward, I came to the dungeon hall. Just as I was wondering which dungeon to run, a pair of hands suddenly wrapped around me from behind. My body trembled instantly. Then a familiar fragrance rushed into my nose. I immediately turned around and hugged Ning Yi tightly behind me. The longing in my heart burst forth at that moment. Then we shared what had happened over the past few months. During this time, Ning Tyran had sent Ning Yi into a special secret realm. She kept fighting inside. This was to hone her skills and combat techniques. Continuous combat also kept her leveling speed from lagging behind mine. She even completed her second advancement a step earlier than I did. She also underwent a triple job sublimation, promoting to the legendary class, Nightwalker. Right now, we came to the dungeon hall to level up as quickly as possible. Although I did not know which dungeon was best to run, the person in charge of the dungeon hall was none other than Ning Tyran. As Ning Tyran's favorite granddaughter, Ning Yi knew the dungeon hall very well. She told me that the Beast God Plateau dungeon was our best leveling dungeon right now. There are two large dungeons in the dungeon hall. One is the level 25 Tyrant Desert, and the other is the level 45 Beast God Plateau, with a maximum entry limit of 50 people. Obviously, the experience points inside are much more than other ordinary dungeons. Although large dungeons don't have difficulty options, the monsters inside are similar to those in Hell mode, just in larger numbers. But to me, numbers are the least meaningful thing. The record for this dungeon was set by Chuangshan Academy 3 years ago, with a time of 6 hours, 29 minutes, and 18 seconds. Ning Yi knew very well that this record was about to be rewritten. We then entered the dungeon without hesitation. Many practitioners were shocked to see this. Holy crap, this is a 50-person large dungeon. He actually plans to solo it while bringing a girl along. Another man laughed. Isn't this normal? Divine General Lin once easily soloed the Tyrant Desert dungeon. That's different. But the Beast God Plateau is a level 45 dungeon. The difficulty is worlds apart. On my first day back at the academy, I put the geniuses of other top schools in their place. I even shocked the 3 great deans using less than a tenth of my power. After Ning Yi and I entered the dungeon, the people in the dungeon hall began a heated discussion. Despite me soloing a large dungeon with a girl, most people felt I could definitely clear it. After all, my past achievements were far too brilliant. But a small number of people were hoping I'd fail, so they could prove my professional level had declined after my second advancement. Just then, the teleportation array in the dungeon hall suddenly lit up. A team with a powerful aura emerged from the array. Without a word, they went straight into the Beast God Plateau dungeon. This team consisted of 30 members, all ranging between level 48 and level 50. Everyone outside the dungeon hall froze at the sight, because the entering team came from Genesis Academy, one of the 3 major academies. Suddenly, someone remembered something and cried out, I get it, today is the day the true Beast God respawns. 3 years ago, Genesis Academy, Yinhuang Academy, and Chuangshan Academy all fought over the true Beast God. But Chuangshan Academy ultimately seized it first. Now that the respawn day has arrived once more, it is uncertain which of the 3 academies will claim victory this time. That is hard to say. After all, Divine General Lin is also inside the dungeon. He might just take first place this time around. Before they finished speaking, the teleportation array lit up once more. Then a massive aura washed over the area. The dungeon hall fell completely silent. The team from Yanwang Academy marched imposingly out of the teleportation array. Their target was also the Beast God Plateau dungeon. Once they entered, Chuangshan Academy's team finally arrived as well. Among the 3 academy teams, Only Chuangshan Academy had 25 members, while the other two academies both fielded 30. This alone showed how confident Chuangshan Academy was in their combat strength. The three major academies gathered once more to compete for the true beast god. This rivalry was also a direct contest between the academies. The moment I entered the dungeon, I unleashed my entire Undead Legion. 22 Undead Legions surged in all directions like fierce wolves. Ningyi was completely dumbfounded at the sight. She never expected that in just a few months apart from me, the number of skeletons would have multiplied by dozens of times. I explained to her why there were so many skeletons. Because it went through two massive surges. The first was at level 30 when I awakened the Lich general skill. After forming the Undead Legion, the number of skeletons increased by more than tenfold. The second was the level 42nd class advancement. The summoning space increased from 400 to 600. The number of skeletons increased significantly once again. Now, the total number of skeletons across 22 Undead Legions has reached 14,520. Hearing this, Ningyi looks extremely excited. With so many skeletons, we never have to fear losing a fight again. As the Undead Legion pushes forward in all directions, kill notifications pop up constantly. They practically never stop. Even though these large dungeons are filled with enhanced elite monsters, they are nothing more than fodder when facing the powerful Undead Legion. In just 20 minutes, the Undead Legion sweeps through the entire plateau. Then I activate lightning wings and fly high into the air to look for the path to the next phase. Soon, I discover a massive horde of beast-type monsters in a canyon. Their numbers exceed several thousand. Among them is one that is exceptionally huge, looking very much like a boss-tier monster. So I immediately order the Undead Legion to charge into the canyon. The arrival of the skeletons instantly draws the attention of these monsters. They all charge aggressively toward the skeletons. They thought they were about to enjoy a hearty meal, only to realize that what came wasn't food, but gods of death. After the Undead Legion slaughters a batch of monsters, I release Corpse Explosion, a skill I haven't used in a long time. A large number of monsters are instantly wiped out, and these corpses once again become objects to be detonated. Just like that, the 5-kilometer canyon was filled with monster corpses. Only the massive monster remained alive. Even so, it was already heavily injured. As a level 47 enhanced elite boss, the Plateau Giant Tiger, its total stats were only 180,000. To the skeletons, it was pitifully weak. It was instantly killed under the skeleton's siege. Killing it granted me 11.41 million EXP, along with the Giant Tiger Sword. However, it was just a junk platinum tier weapon with no attached skills. I merely glanced at it before tossing it into my storage space. Then we crossed the canyon and entered the second plateau. The Undead Legion charged forward imposingly once again. Ningyi told me the Beast God Plateau dungeon has 4 plateaus in total. Each plateau is packed with a massive number of monsters. Boss-level monsters guard the areas between plateaus. Furthermore, the monsters become stronger the further we go, especially on the final plateau, which houses quite a few boss-level monsters. Other teams try to avoid fighting monsters whenever possible, rushing as quickly as possible to the last plateau. That is because most of the dungeon's rewards are concentrated on the final plateau. I naturally understood this logic. But there are only 2 of us. Every single monster gives us considerable EXP. Besides, how could my clearing speed ever be compared to other teams? Even deploying just 1 Undead Legion is much faster than other teams. Not to mention, I have a full 22 Undead Legions, combined with my Corpse Explosion skill. Killing every single monster in the dungeon will still be much faster than them. The monsters in Plateau number 2 have already reached level 47. Both their attack power and speed have increased significantly. But that doesn't make much difference to the skeletons. Wherever the Undead Legion passes, monsters lie scattered across the land. Ningyi and I walked leisurely behind them. That was when Ningyi told me the story of the Beast God Plateau dungeon. Back then, to move the Beast God Plateau dungeon here, the Xinxiao Empire deployed 9 god-level experts. Its difficulty even exceeded that of the super-large dungeon in the hall. It is so difficult because the true body of the Beast God resides in this dungeon. I was amazed to hear this. I had never heard of this before, nor did I know what the true body of the Beast God meant. Ningyi told me that the true body of the Beast God is related to the Beast God, and that the Beast God is a kind of deity. My body shuddered at the news. To think this dungeon was actually related to a deity. I didn't doubt the truth of this information at all, because as the granddaughter of the master of the dungeon hall, Ningyi naturally knows many of the legends and secrets within the hall. Then Ningyi told me that the true body of the Beast God respawns every 3 years. Each time, only the team that kills it first can obtain the reward. Furthermore, the reward is determined by how long it took to kill it. The team in first place was from Chuangshan Academy, taking 40 minutes. And they ultimately obtained a Beast God bone. It can be used to craft boss jewelry. with the monsters on the second plateau all wiped out. The next step was to deal with the monsters heading toward the third plateau. As my undead army charged into the canyon ahead, kill notifications kept popping up. My experience points were also skyrocketing. Ever since entering the dungeon, my EXP had already increased by 3%. Meanwhile, the Genesis Academy team was also fighting fiercely inside the dungeon. 5 knights stood firm at the front of the formation like iron spikes, blocking all incoming monster attacks. Healers positioned in the rear continuously healed them. Mages and archers stood in the middle, unleashing massive damage. Monsters along the way were steadily cleared out. It was the same for Yanhuang Academy. Their team had also advanced to the second plateau, and their progress was no slower than the other 2 teams. Inside a conference room at Xiaojing Academy, several high-ranking officials had gathered, including the heads of the 3 top academies. Ning Tairan was displaying the situation inside the Beast God Plateau dungeon for everyone to see. This battle in the Beast God Plateau dungeon was no longer just a competition between students. It was a major contest between the academies themselves. It served as a way to see which of the new generation of top talents truly excelled. At this moment, the expressions of the 3 academy heads looked extremely peculiar. Because aside from the footage of the 3 academy teams, there was another feed displayed prominently above. I was bringing Ning Yi along to clear the dungeon, looking as relaxed as if I were strolling through a garden. Seeing this, Ning Tairan's expression turned as dark as iron, and a harsh voice squeezed out from his throat. "Brat, take your filthy hands off my granddaughter." Meanwhile, the deans of the other 3 academies were completely shocked. They could not believe that my solo clearing speed. My Undead Legion instantly obliterated the final boss of the large dungeon. Not only did I acquire ancient divine artifacts left behind by past deities, even the 3 top academies of the Xinxia Empire sent me invitations. It turned out that after Ning Yi and I entered the Beast God Plateau dungeon, we accidentally got pulled into the 3 academies competition. While the elite teams of the other academies had only reached the second plateau, I had already blasted through it and headed for the third plateau. The 3 deans were immensely shocked at this sight. They simply could not believe that my solo speed was actually faster than the elite teams of the 3 academies. It seems Divine General Lin will take first place this time. I just wonder how long it will take him to defeat the true form of the Beast God. The previous record was 37 minutes. Hopefully, he can set a new record. At this point, I had already fought my way to the third plateau. Moreover, from start to finish, I had not used my full strength at all. I even adopted a strategy of clearing all monsters completely, wiping out every single monster in the canyon. I did not care about speed at all. Yet even so, my speed was still much faster than the teams from the 3 academies. Although they had long heard of my exploits, they never expected my strength to be this terrifying. However, Dean Mo Xinghe wore a look of intense excitement. After all, I am nominally a member of their Genesis Academy. The better my results, the higher the status of Genesis Academy. At this moment, Ning Tairan was grinding his teeth in anger, watching helplessly as his precious granddaughter was snatched away by someone. Although he was unhappy about it, he had to admit that I was indeed quite capable, and a peerless genius without a doubt. Any talented prodigy would only appear dim and pale in front of me. He also knew about the time I fell into the corpse realm some time ago. It was just that he thought I would definitely die inside, which was why he did not mention this matter to Ning Yi. Yet he never expected that I could actually return alive. Ning Tairan asked himself if it were him. Once trapped in the corpse realm, he would not even be certain of fighting his way back out. Now, he also wanted to know how long it would take me to take down the Beast God true form. At this time, Ning Yi and I arrived at the canyon leading to the 4th plateau. The monsters here had grown significantly stronger once again. Yet under the irresistible offensive of the Undead Legion, all the monsters were dealt with in less than 30 seconds, including a level 49 bear boss. Next, we arrived at the final plateau. The 3 deans all narrowed their eyes when they saw this scene. They all wanted to see how I would handle the monsters on the 4th plateau next. Because the 4th plateau was different from the previous 3, there were a total of 12 groups of monsters inside. Each group had between 20 and 30 monsters, and each group was led by a boss. Dean Luo Gaoxian of Chuangshan Academy said, "The hardest part of the 4th plateau is not the number of bosses. It is that these bosses will help each other. So, each group of monsters must be lured as far away as possible before being killed. Otherwise, it's very likely to trigger a collective riot among all the leaders. Even for our team from Chuangshan Academy, it would take at least 2 hours to clear it." After saying this, he looked at Ning Tairan beside him. "Elder Ning, how long do you think it will take him to take down plateau number 4? Ning Tairan thought for a moment and said, "If this kid is serious, he can take it down in under 10 minutes. Hearing this, Luo Gaoxian looked shocked. "That's impossible. No matter how fast he is, he can't be that much faster than Chuangshan Academy." However, Ning Tairan just chuckled. "You'll find out soon enough." Meanwhile, Ningyi told me about the situation at plateau number 4. So, I summoned 90 skeleton berserkers. They each ran toward different groups of monsters to draw their aggro. Although I knew there were 12 leaders commanding the monsters, clearing them group by group was too tedious for me. It would be better to lure them all together and wipe them out in one go. After all, the more monsters there are, the more beneficial it is for my corpse explosion skill. Soon, the skeleton berserkers lured all the monsters on the plateau over. Soon, the skeleton berserker attracted all the monsters on the plateau. Leading the pack were 12 towering boss-level monsters. Following them were over 300 dungeon monsters. I looked at the monster army, stretching out like a long dragon, and let out a wicked smile. I raised my hand and cast the decay curse. A red light instantly covered the entire plateau. Immediately after, the skeleton archmage and skeleton sharpshooter attacked simultaneously. Elemental explosions erupted in brilliant flashes among the monster crowd. The sharpshooter's arrows arrived instantly. Screams immediately rang out one after another. In an instant, dozens of monsters were insta-killed. Then, I raised my hand and cast corpse explosion. Violent explosions went off one after another, blowing the ground sky-high. The entire plateau number 4 was engulfed by the terrifying blast waves. Several deans from Xiaojing Academy were stunned. What kind of terrifying AoE skill is this? To think it covered the entire plateau number 4 in an instant. I just wonder how powerful the skill actually is. Ning Tairan let out a cold laugh. You'll find out soon enough. I'm just afraid you won't be able to handle it. Soon, as the explosion stopped, monster corpses littered the ground. All of them, including the 12 bosses, were dead. The 3 deans were incredibly shocked to see this. From the moment I started the attack, it took less than 10 seconds. This far exceeded the results of other top teams. At that moment, Luo Gaoxian immediately said, I must invite him to join my Chuanshan Academy. Luo Yin had the exact same thought. Your Chuanshan Academy already has enough geniuses. Divine General Lin belongs at our Yanhuang Academy instead. However, Luo Gaoxian refused to budge an inch. Our Chuanshan Academy is the head of the 3 top academies. He should naturally come to us no matter what. That is not necessarily true. My Yanhuang Academy will become the top academy sooner or later. Right as the two of them were arguing, Mo Xinghe suddenly spoke up. Stop arguing, both of you. Divine General Lin actually joined my Chuanshan Academy long ago. The two of them were utterly shocked upon hearing this. When did that even happen? Just as they wanted to question further, their gazes were instantly drawn to the screen showing my location. An altar had appeared on plateau number 4. Standing right in the center of the altar was a gigantic ape-like creature. Ningyi was extremely shocked at the sight. How could this be the true body of the beast god? Could the 3 years be up already? Hearing this, I immediately cast a detection spell on the monster in the altar. At level 55, its total stats reached a staggering 400,000, surpassing even world bosses of the same level. It also possessed the traits of double immunity and double reinforcement. The only flaw was that it lacked the special skills typical of world bosses, such as the toxic gas of the earth tentacle dragon god, or the black fire of the ancient wan bird. Those were precisely what made world bosses so difficult to deal with. The true body of the beast god in front of me has stats exceeding a world boss. But otherwise, it has no special abilities. Even so, normal teams still cannot beat it. And only teams from top academies can barely manage to kill it. However, this poses no difficulty for me at all. After all, I was already able to defeat a level 58 world boss when I was at level 30. Not to mention that I have now completed my second advancement. If it is truly as Ningyi said, the faster you kill the true body of the beast god, the better the rewards you get. I wonder what rewards I will receive if I one-shot it. Thinking of this, I immediately cast Army Strengthening Skill, followed by Decay Curse. The skeleton warriors immediately raised their blades and charged forward. The elemental explosion from the skeleton archmage landed first, instantly swallowing it up in a terrifying elemental blast. Then, the sharp arrows of the skeleton sharpshooters roared through the air, turning it into a hedgehog. As the skills of the skeleton warriors erupted completely, the newly revived true body of the beast god crashed to the ground without even having time to scream. This left Ningyi dumbfounded. This was simply too fast. Other top teams had to work to the bone for over half an hour just to kill it, while I resolved the battle in less than 5 seconds. Even the 3 knowledgeable deans were stunned. They had lived for most of their lives and had never seen such an unreal scene. Ning Tairan was also filled with shock. Although he had anticipated from the beginning that I would fight quickly, he never expected it to be this fast. The true body of the beast god was in existence on par with a world boss after all, yet it was simply one shot by me. After the true body of the beast god fell, it dropped a bone and a pool of blood. I obtained the beast god leg bone. This was a bone left behind before the beast god became a deity, carrying a portion of divine power. I also obtained the beast god essence blood. It significantly boosts the probability of class sublimation during the third advancement, while also granting a certain chance to awaken a talent. The moment he saw this drop of blood, Ning Tyran's expression changed drastically, and he vanished from the room in an instant. Meanwhile, Ning Yi and I left the dungeon. The moment we appeared in the dungeon hall, I suddenly felt an intent to kill wrap around me. Despair, absolute despair. I never expected that a casual dungeon record I set would drive the elite teams of the 3 top academies to despair. It turned out that after I instantly killed the final boss, the true body of the beast god, it dropped 2 divine items at once. Following the direction of the killing intent, I saw that Ning Tyran was walking toward me. He originally intended to teach me a lesson because of what happened with Ning Yi, but he held back when he thought about what I had just acquired in the dungeon. So he asked me if I knew the value of those 2 items. Although the description of the beast god leg bone was vague, I guessed that it could help a practitioner accelerate their comprehension and increase the probability of becoming a divine tier powerhouse. The description of the beast god essence blood was also very clear, stating that using it increases the chance of class sublimation. Yet Ning Tyran told me that the true function of the beast god essence blood went far beyond that. While using it directly increases the third advancement sublimation probability by 15%. If processed into divine blood potion, it can raise the class sublimation probability to 30%, and even increase the chance of awakening talents. Moreover, this drop of essence blood can make at least 3 portions of potion. However, turning the beast god essence blood into potion requires a large number of treasures for assistance, along with finding a suitable pharmacist. Hearing this, I roughly guessed he wanted to make a deal with me. Ning Tyran admitted it generously, and immediately laid out his proposal. All the required treasures and pharmacists would be handled entirely by him alone, leaving me with nothing to worry about. After the potions are made, I can get 1 portion, while he and the pharmacist take 1 portion each. Although I suffered no loss under his plan, I really wanted to know who he intended to use that potion on. So I directly asked Ning Tyran this question. Ning Tyran puffed his beard and said angrily, "I only have 1 precious granddaughter. If I do not give it to her, who else can I give it to?" Hearing this, I readily agreed to the deal and handed the beast god essence blood to him. Then I handed over the beast god leg bone as well, stating that I wanted to use it as a marriage proposal gift. Hearing this, Ning Tyran froze instantly. He did not know whether to accept it. The beast god leg bone was simply too tempting. If he could get it, the chances of the old guys and his family reaching the divine level would greatly increase. Yet he was somewhat reluctant about this marriage. But when he saw Ning Yi's expression, he suddenly saw the light, because he could tell from Ning Yi that her heart was completely set on me. Since that was the case, he might as well take more benefits. Therefore, he agreed without any hesitation. Then he picked up the beast god leg bone and left the dungeon hall. At this moment, Ning Yi's face was flushed and burning. What he just said made her so shy that she did not know what to do. To ease the atmosphere, Lin Moyu quickly took her hand and entered the dungeon again. Just at that moment, the bell of the dungeon hall rang through the entire lobby. Immediately after, the latest record of the Beast God Plateau appeared. Lin Moyu's clearance time for the Beast God Plateau dungeon was 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 38 seconds. It far surpassed the records of the top 2 academies, Chuangshan Academy and Genesis Academy, which was 6 hours, 52 minutes, and 1 second. Those who frequented the dungeon hall knew that his first record was just the beginning. The second record would only leave people in despair. At this moment, the deans of the 3 academies in the meeting room had not left yet. All 3 of them had seen the 2 items dropped when Lin Moyu killed the true body of the beast god earlier. Although experienced and knowledgeable, they only guessed what those items were. They could not be completely certain yet. It was not until Ning Tyran returned that they finally confirmed it. All 3 of them gasped in shock. With their experience, they naturally knew what these 2 items represented. Those were things that even half-step god-level powerhouses dreamed of. On the other side, the 3 teams from the 3 academies had already reached the 4th plateau. They began clearing the bosses and monsters on the plateau desperately. They wanted to be the first to activate the true body of the beast god. Little did they know that the true body of the beast god had already been killed by Lin Moyu. Meanwhile, Lin Moyu had already entered the dungeon again. This time, he decided to do a speed run. He spread his lightning wings and charged straight toward the 4th plateau. Soon, as explosions rang out across the 4th plateau, the monsters on the plateau were swiftly wiped out. Immediately afterward, a massive aura rose from the central altar. A somewhat illusory ape shadow slowly emerged. However, this boss was different from the true body of the beast god. Its level was lower by 3. Its total stats were only 320,000. Yet it still reached the level of a world boss. Although there was no blessing from rune skills this time. Under the overwhelming attacks of the skeletons, the beast god projection collapsed to the ground in less than 2 minutes. The system notified me of killing the beast god projection, granting 2.6 million experience points, and obtaining the plateau gauntlets, a platinum-grade weapon. All stats increased, and pugilist skills were boosted by 70%. It came with the skill chain strike, delivering 30 consecutive punches within 3 seconds. Each punch dealt damage equal to 100% of my strength, with a cooldown of 5 minutes. At the same time, the bells in the dungeon hall rang loudly. A brilliant light burst forth over the Beast God Plateau dungeon. Hundreds of eyes stared at the light screen above the dungeon. Everyone was mentally prepared. They all knew I must have set another despair-inducing record. Yet when the results actually appeared, they still could not help crying out in shock. My dungeon clearance time was locked at 9 minutes and 43 seconds. Some people who were jealous of me finally could not hold back their outburst. How is this possible? How could a large dungeon produce such a score? He must be cheating. But as soon as these words were spoken, they immediately drew rebuttals from a large number of practitioners. What is impossible about it? Just because you cannot do it does not mean Divine General Lin cannot. Which of the dungeon records set by Divine General Lin is something an ordinary person could achieve? That left the person who spoke with no chance to even talk back. He immediately tucked his tail between his legs and fled the dungeon hall in disgrace. Although I cleared the dungeon in less than 10 minutes with speed running, the total experience gained was only 1%. It was more than 6 times less than the first time. Therefore, I decided to stick with the full clear strategy to continue farming the dungeon. Meanwhile, the team from Chuangshan Academy finally finished clearing all the monsters in the plateau. When they gripped their weapons one by one, ready to deal with the true body of the beast god, they discovered that the altar had actually spawned a projection of the beast god instead. Seeing this, the captain of Chuangshan Academy had a blank look in his eyes. What is going on here? Where did the true body of the beast god go? Could it be that we miscalculated the respawn time? On second thought, however, he dismissed that guess. Even if they miscalculated the time, could the two academies, Genesis Academy and Yanhuang Academy, also miscalculate just like them? Since the time was correct, someone else must have beaten them to it. Yet they found it even harder to believe that anyone could be faster than their own team. With things as they were, they had no choice but to slay the projection before them and go check outside. The exact same scene was playing out in the dungeons of Genesis Academy and Yanhuang Academy. Half an hour later, the teams from the 3 academies left the dungeon almost simultaneously. When they saw the records on the light screen, they were all struck dumb. That is absolutely impossible. How could anyone achieve a score like this? Is there something wrong with the dungeon? Even Divine General Lin could not possibly pull this off. As for Ling Yizhan, who had witnessed all my great achievements on the eternal battlefield, he appeared unusually calm after seeing the results. Because he knew my strength all too well. When I was level 30, he witnessed me kill a level 58 world boss. Not to mention I have already completed my 2nd class advancement now. And even the true body of the beast god could be defeated by them. Being killed instantly by me was only natural. So he led his team and prepared to leave the dungeon hall. Suddenly, Feng Chao, the captain of Chuangshan Academy, called out to him. Are you just going to slink back like this? Do you not plan to figure out what is going on here? Ling Yizhan said with a gloomy expression upon hearing this. Is it not written clearly enough on the clearance record? Could it be that you have doubts about the strength of Divine General Lin? Facing this, Feng Chao was completely unfazed. Do you believe this kind of score? Ling Yizhan sneered when he heard that. If this score was made by someone else, I naturally would not believe it either. But since it was made by Divine General Lin, I believe it 100%. With that, he took the members of Genesis Academy and left the dungeon hall. The captain of Yanhuang Academy also led his team away upon seeing Ling Yizhan's actions. Only the crowd from Chuangshan Academy remained, their faces filled with unwillingness. It was simply because my score was too terrifying. Terrifying to the point that they found it completely unbelievable. I finally made my move against the geniuses of the 3 top academies. I even directly unleashed the long-hidden killing intent domain. It turned out that just moments ago, I cleared the Beast God Plateau dungeon and set a despair-inducing record. Yet it left the geniuses of Chuangshan Academy filled with doubt. They simply could not believe that anyone could achieve a score dozens of times better than their own team. And the other person was doing it all alone. Chuangshan Academy is the top ranked among the 3 major academies. Most of the proudest students in Xiaojing Academy are gathered right there. Every single one of them is a top genius of their generation. Normally, they refuse to yield to anyone within the academy, let alone an outsider. Although they had all heard the legends about Lin Moyu, they never took any of it seriously from the start. Now, however, the fact that Lin Moyu had crushed them was right before their eyes. They only wanted to know how Lin Moyu pulled off such a feat. So they were all waiting by the dungeon entrance for Lin Moyu to come out. Soon, the teleportation array of the Beast God Plateau dungeon suddenly lit up. The next second, the figures of Lin Moyu and Ning Yi appeared outside the dungeon. The moment they saw Lin Moyu appear, everyone's expression turned gloomy. Feng Chao, the captain of the Chuanshan team, stepped directly in front of Lin Moyu and demanded an explanation. Lin Moyu, let me ask you, how did you clear this dungeon? Why were you able to get a score like that? This sudden turn of events made Lin Moyu frown. Lin Moyu did not even recognize this guy in front of him. Yet his aggressive demeanor made it clear he must be from the 3 major academies. And he had undoubtedly come because of the true body of the beast god. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu's gaze grew cold. I have no obligation to tell you why. Besides, what status do you think you have to speak to me like that? Feng Chao naturally knew Lin Moyu was referring to the gap in military ranks. Yet he still maintained his arrogance. I am a genius of Chuanshan Academy. Sooner or later, I will become a divine general, and even step into the divine realm. Hearing this, I sneered. If that is the case, wait until you become a divine general before you come looking for me. Now get out of my way immediately. Yet Feng Chao remained unfazed. He said he would move naturally after I answered his question. In his eyes, I was only at level 42. Reaching the rank of divine general was merely a matter of luck. As for those legends, he had never taken them seriously. Meanwhile, he was already at level 50, coupled with a full set of top-tier platinum equipment. He believed his strength was completely comparable to mine. Right at this moment, the entire dungeon hall suddenly shook. At the same time, the domain divine stone within my body began to spin wildly. The killing intent I had accumulated for a long time erupted abruptly. An oppressive aura capable of suffocating anyone descended from the sky. This was the killing intent I continuously built up through battles on the eternal battlefield and the abyss world. It was simply not something a person like Feng Chao could withstand. The arrogant Feng Chao was instantly pinned to the ground, unable to move. Immediately afterward, hallucinations began to plague his vision. Countless broadswords slashed toward him from all directions. At the same time, swarms of rotting corpses pounced onto his body and bit down fiercely. He knelt on the ground, wailing continuously. His teammates were frightened out of their wits upon seeing this scene. They could only watch helplessly as their team leader struggled inside the illusion. Seeing this, I wore a look of utter disdain. If this were not the dungeon hall, you might already be dead. With that, I brought Ning Yi and entered the dungeon once again. The killing intent weighing down on Feng Chao dissipated along with us. He gasped heavily for air, still shaken from the ordeal. What was that scene just now? Why did it feel so real? Everything that just happened had completely gone beyond his understanding. After resting for a moment, he left the dungeon hall like a stray dog. On my end, I started taking Ning Yi to clear the dungeon over and over again. Half a day later, Ning Yi's level finally reached level 41. As for me, my level still had not budged. Ever since my second class advancement, the required experience had increased drastically. My leveling efficiency was much slower than everyone else's. Fortunately, my dungeon clearing speed was much faster than anyone else's. The people who entered the academy at the same time as me were still struggling on the path to level 30. Meanwhile, after returning to Chuanshan Academy, Feng Chao immediately sought out Dean Luo Gaoxian. He recounted what had happened that day. How could Lin Moyu possibly finish the dungeon so quickly? He must have used some despicable methods. Upon hearing this, Luo Gaoxian slapped him right across the face. Do you know who Lin Moyu is? He is a divine general. His status is equivalent to a god-tier powerhouse. Where did you get the audacity to address him by name? Feng Chao shuddered all over. He never expected that Luo Gaoxian, who had always been amiable toward him, would actually strike him. Just as he was about to explain, he was interrupted by Luo Gaoxian again. Shut your mouth and listen to me carefully. The record you saw was set by Divine General Lin when he speed-ran the dungeon. As for that time, he killed the true body of the beast god. The deans of our 3 academies all witnessed it with their own eyes. There was absolutely no issue with the entire process. Moreover, Divine General Lin took a mere 5 seconds to defeat the true body of the beast god. It was practically a one-hit kill. Hearing this, Feng Chao was utterly shocked. How could that be possible? How could he alone instantly kill the true body of the beast god? Luo Gaoxian paid no attention to his reaction and continued. Do you know who that disciple of the ancestor is? Now I will tell you who it is. She is the biological older sister of Lin Moyu. Upon hearing this, Feng Chao immediately gasped in shock and dared not say another word. Then Luo Gaoxian patted him on the shoulder and said, The illusions you saw earlier must have been affected by the killing intent of Divine General Lin. Divine General Lin is not as simple as you think. The demons and dragon race he has killed are beings you cannot even imagine. You cannot touch matters on this level yet. I can only tell you not to provoke him. Feng Chao was truly terrified this time and trembled all over. He finally came to terms with reality. Neither my background nor Lin Mohan's identity was something he could afford to provoke. Within 10 days, Ning Yi and I stayed in the dungeon hall, and my level finally rose to 45. However, After reaching level 45, the leveling speed plummeted once more. Clearing the Beast God Plateau dungeon only yielded 4% experience. To gain a full level, I would need to clear it 25 times. At the current rate of over an hour per run, it would take 2 full days and nights without sleep just to gain a level. Right at that moment, I received a message from Bai Yuan. So I immediately brought Ning Yi and returned to the White God Courtyard. Apart from Bai Shun and the others, Imo Xinghe was also there. Seeing this, I guessed that the ancestral grounds of Chuanshan Academy were about to open. Sure enough, Imo Xinghe immediately stated that the ancestral grounds would open tomorrow. He came this time to tell me some precautions. He told me there would be many living beings inside the ancestral grounds. These beings have no hostility. He warned me never to kill them. Otherwise, my life might be in danger inside the ancestral grounds. Soon, the ancestral grounds officially opened on the second day. The teleportation arrays of Chuanshan Academy lit up continuously. Batches of people arrived at Chuanshan Academy. Then, a ray of white light rose from the academy, shooting straight into the sky. I instantly felt an ancient and vast aura permeate the entire island. I had once seen some records about the origin of the ancestral grounds in the Imperial Secret Treasury. Its history is far more ancient than Chuanshan Academy itself. This also shows that the ancestral grounds contain many unknown secrets. As the soaring white light gradually faded, Dean Imo Xinghe began calling names for people to take the stage and prepare to enter. Yet when I stepped onto the stage, it instantly attracted the attention of many students. So he joined our academy just for this quota. Our Chuanshan Academy only had 10 quotas to begin with, and now one has to be taken away by him. How hateful. The students whispered among themselves below the stage. They were extremely dissatisfied with my joining Chuanshan Academy. This was because I threatened their interests. These words also reached Imo Xinghe's ears. He let out a stern shout, instantly making these students shut their mouths. Right at this moment, Ning Tyrant arrived here with Ning Yi. Ning Yi eagerly rushed into my arms. Then, Luo Gaoxian led the team from Chuanshan Academy over. To my surprise, my sister Lin Mohan was among them. Mo Yun and a man followed behind. The moment Lin Mohan appeared, everyone's attention shifted to her. At that moment, Lin Mohan became the brightest star in the room. The man who came with Lin Mohan was named Feng Wu. He is Feng Chao's older brother. His gaze remained fixed on Lin Mohan, his eyes shimmering with admiration. However, Lin Mohan and Mo Yun both came to my side at the same time. Seeing this, the hearts of the crowd below shattered. What the hell is going on? Why are they all so close to Divine General Lin? I'm in. I finally succeeded in entering the Genesis ancestral land. Not only did I obtain a rare hidden attribute inside, but I also became the first genius in a million years to eat the first-generation god-level fruit. It turns out that just moments ago, the Genesis ancestral land, which opens once every 5 years, officially opened. Prodigies from various academies and geniuses from different families gathered at Genesis Academy. But the moment the entrance to the ancestral land appeared, my pupils suddenly contracted. I had sensed the aura of the scepter of creation within the ancestral land. Could that light in the ancestral land be related to the life core? Thinking of this, I became incredibly excited. If it really is the life core, then I can assemble the complete scepter of creation. As the ancestral land opened, everyone preparing to enter wore expressions of confidence. They all exude an air of arrogance. Everyone who comes here is a top genius in their family, or even among the chosen prodigies. Otherwise, they would have no qualification to come here at all. Led by Imo Xinghe, everyone enters the ancestral land one by one. The scene shifts to a vibrant forest. From this moment on, the ancestral land trial officially begins. Just then, a young man gives a light shout, and a fierce wind suddenly rises. His body is surrounded by a gust of wind, carrying him flying toward the distant mountains and forests. Before leaving, he does not forget to glance back at Lin Mohan, seemingly showing off. Mo Yun tells us that he comes from the Lai family of Haiqing, a level 56 legendary class holder, Holy Light Mage. Furthermore, the Haiqing Lai family is a prominent clan of elemental mages, and there is even a god-level mage within the family. What Mo Yun finds strange, however, is that such a large family did not tell him flying is prohibited here. As soon as the words fall, Lai Feng tumbles down from the sky. Moreover, his fall happens to crush a rabbit to death. The dead rabbit instantly turns into a ball of light and merges into his body. At the same time, a unique aura appears on him. Seeing this, I feel a sense of foreboding. Because Mo Xing has said not to kill any living creatures here. Otherwise it might lead to fatal danger. Lin Mohan knows this as well, so she tells us to keep our distance from Lai Feng. Right at this moment, Feng Wu walks over and invites Lin Mohan to join him. Yet Lin Mohan refuses him without even thinking. No thanks, I want to be with my brother, Xiaoyu, Lin Mohan said. Hearing this, Feng Wu looked at me with a hint of confusion. When he saw that I was only level 45, a look of disdain appeared on his face. As a level 61 legendary practitioner and a holy light knight, he was one of the top practitioners among everyone who entered the ancestral land. He had admired Lin Mohan for a long time and thought he could get closer to her during this trip to the ancestral land. But now, I had completely ruined his plans. This thought left him feeling very irritated. His eyes flickered as he watched Lin Mohan's retreating figure. Who knows what he was thinking? Then, he also headed toward the mountain forest. After entering the forest, everyone gradually dispersed. Almost everyone had more or less been tainted by that special aura. Only the four of us were careful enough to avoid it. Just then, someone suddenly let out a low shout. This was followed by a powerful surge of skill energy. A giant python suddenly appeared and attacked one of the people. However, the python ended up being killed instead. Similar incidents began to happen one after another. Moreover, everyone who was attacked had been tainted by that special aura. Clearly, this special aura attracted the monster's aggression. Lin Mohan understood this better than anyone. Her teacher had told her that anyone who killed creatures in the ancestral land would increase the difficulty of the trial, and if too many were killed, it could even become life-threatening. Then, Lin Mohan took out the Bagua compass her teacher had given her. She now needed to find an orchard within this forest. I suddenly realized what was happening. Mo Xinghe had also told me previously that I needed to find an orchard in the ancestral land, and I have to eat enough fruit to pass the first stage. However, my sister told me that the one she was looking for wasn't the one Mo Xinghe mentioned. Her teacher had told her that the fruits here are graded. She wanted to find the highest grade orchard. But the higher the grade, the harder the orchard is to find. In the end, it took us 10 whole hours to find that orchard. But no one knew what the fruits actually did. I only heard from Mo Xinghe that the more you eat, the better. So, I cast a detection spell. However, the detection spell only returned the name of the fruit, with no other information. So, I told them I'd try it first. I have the passive skill damage transfer, so even if there was something wrong with the fruit, it wouldn't hurt me. Then, I picked a fruit and took a bite. But the moment the juice flowed into my body, I suddenly felt the strength in my entire body recede like a tide. I went from being a powerful practitioner to an ordinary person. I quickly checked my attributes and found that both my attributes and skills had been sealed. But as I finished the remaining half of the fruit, my strength began to increase. Soon, all four of my primary attributes reached 200, which was double what they were before. Then, I picked another fruit and ate it. My primary attributes then increased to 400. Seeing this, I had a rough idea of the answer. Each fruit increases the 4 primary attributes by 200 points. No wonder Mo Xinghe said the more you eat, the better. The more attributes you increase, the more advantageous it is for the next stage. Then Lin Mohan told me that besides boosting 4-dimensional attributes, eating high-grade fruits also grants a hidden attribute. This attribute is called comprehension. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. Even I was hearing about this attribute for the first time. Even Bai Yuan and the others did not know about this. This also shows the gap between God level and half-step super God level. Then Lin Mohan continued speaking. Actually, comprehension has always existed. It is closely related to a practitioner awakening talents and achieving God level. However, items that can increase comprehension are far too rare. The high-grade fruits here are rare treasures that can actually increase comprehension. So you must seize this opportunity and eat more. Ning Yi and Mo Yin nodded repeatedly. Then the two of them started eating for their lives. Watching their expressions, Lin Mohan let out a chuckle. Then she nudged my shoulder and said, "Both of these girls are pretty good. Why do not you just marry them both? If you really fancy them, your elder sister will go talk to them for you. Even if your elder sister's face is not enough, there is still our teacher." Hearing this, I pretended not to hear and quickly ran aside. Right at this moment, a peculiar fruit tree in the center of the orchard caught my attention. This fruit tree was noticeably shorter than the others. It hung solitarily with just a slightly withered fruit. It even looked somewhat malnourished. Yet I felt this fruit was extraordinary. Noticing my doubt, Lin Mohan bit into a fruit and said, "Teacher once mentioned this fruit to me. Back then, one of the top prodigies who traveled with the teacher died from body rupture precisely because they ate this fruit. Furthermore, such incidents had actually happened more than once. The teacher guessed it was because it increased too many stats at once. Whoever ate it could not handle the massive attributes and thus exploded." Hearing this, I immediately cast a detection spell. Yet there was still no useful information at all. I only knew that this malnourished-looking fruit was called prime fruit. Although my sister said people might die from a ruptured body if they could not endure it. Ning Yi and Mo Yun had already reached their limit after eating just 5 high-grade fruits. Yet after eating 5 myself, I felt no difference whatsoever. I had no idea where my own limit actually was. Now, with this prime fruit right before me, I came up with a bold idea. So I told my sister that I wanted to give it a try. Lin Mohan refused no matter what. It was only when I told her I had planted a soul imprint in the Hall of Heroic Souls. That Lin Mohan finally felt relieved. But on the premise that I had to agree to one condition. That was, if my attempt failed, I had to get married and have children, and never go out to do any dangerous things again, since the chance of resurrection was only available once. Hearing this, I agreed without the slightest hesitation. Then Lin Mohan nodded. Go ahead and eat it then. I will get ready to collect your corpse. Because she simply did not believe I could pull it off. I was left speechless. Was this really my own sister? Lin Mohan continued eating the fruit bite after bite. It was clear that her inner mind was far from calm. I walked up to that peculiar fruit tree. The moment I grabbed the prime fruit, a vision flashed before my eyes. I never expected that eating a fruit feared by everyone would massively boost my 4 core attributes, and even grant my hidden attributes an epic upgrade. In the vision, a towering giant tree stood on a desolate island, its branches bearing a single yellow fruit. As the fruit emitted faint rays of light, the giant tree rapidly shrank as if it had lost all its vitality. The green leaves on the branches withered away, too, finally turning into the withered little tree in front of me. The fruit that absorbed the tree's vitality was filled with immense power. Witnessing all this, I finally understood why this fruit was so terrifying. It contained the power of an entire towering giant tree. No wonder anyone who ate it would burst apart and die. Yet I still ate it bite by bite without the slightest hesitation. The next second, my expression turned extremely grim, and my whole body trembled as if I had been electrocuted. Seeing my state, Lin Mohan hurriedly asked what was wrong. By then, however, I was already plunged into excruciating pain beyond control. My 4 core attributes had previously been capped at 1,000 after eating 5 high-grade fruits. Now, under the effect of the prime fruit, they began to surge rapidly, increasing by 100 points every single second. In the blink of an eye, my attributes surpassed 2,000, and the growth still continued. While my attributes were increasing, a massive force seemed to be crashing against my body. But all the resulting damage was absorbed by the skeletons. I finally understood why those who tried eating it before died from their bodies exploding. This is because the damage ignores all defense and erupts from the inside out. It is almost impossible for a practitioner to withstand it. I am probably the only one who can take this level of damage without dying. My attributes continued to grow steadily for another 2 minutes before finally stopping. By then, my attributes had reached 10,000. It might not seem like much, but it is 10 times higher than Ningyi's. The most critical part, however, isn't the attributes, but the hidden attribute of comprehension. Feeling like I could handle more, I picked another high-grade fruit and ate it. But I found that my attributes would not increase any further. Clearly, 10,000 points was the limit. By this time, Lin Mohan couldn't eat anymore either. She ate 10 high-grade fruits in total, bringing her attributes to 2,000. Afterward, we left the garden to head toward the next stage of the trial. But after walking for a bit, we suddenly heard intense fighting ahead, accompanied by energy fluctuations and screams. We exchanged a glance and quickly rushed over. Soon, we found them in an open area. Almost everyone who had entered the ancestral land was there. Their auras were extremely weak, clearly because they had all eaten the fruits. Their skills and attributes were completely sealed. Yet the knight attacking them was someone who had not eaten the fruit. With a casual swing of his sword, he pushed back several people. Seeing us appear, the knight suddenly smiled wickedly. Everyone is finally here. It is time for the game to end. As he spoke, a massive surge of energy erupted from his body, instantly blowing away everyone who was surrounding him. Then a blue halo rose beneath everyone's feet, and an icy aura swept across the area. Everyone present, except for me, was affected by the freeze, becoming extremely sluggish in their movements. Then the knight raised his long sword, pointed at me, and said, Lin Moyu, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. I ignored him completely, because I sensed a trace of the abyss aura on his body. It was clear he had already become a member of the Demon Worship Society. His purpose in coming here was to wipe out all the geniuses inside the ancestral grounds. After figuring it out, a trace of disdain appeared on my face. You deliberately avoided eating the fruit just to kill all of us here, right? But do not forget that everyone here is a genius from various major families. Who among them does not have a soul imprint left behind? My words made the people here feel much more at ease. The Hall of Heroic Souls holds our soul imprints. Even if we die, we can still be resurrected. Once we get out, you will pay a miserable price. Even the entire Zhou family will pay a heavy price for you. However, Zhou Lixing just smiled wickedly at those words. Do you really think I would give you a chance to resurrect? With that, he crushed a black stone. Immediately afterward, a barrier enveloped the area. Seeing this, everyone's expression changed drastically. It is over. This is the soul-destroying barrier of the abyssal demons. The soul-destroying barrier can obliterate the souls of the dead. Even with a soul imprint, resurrection is impossible. Zhou Lisheng smiled even more crazily. He looked at Lin Mohan and the others, licking his lips. Before killing you all, I'm going to have some fun first. Yet Lin Mohan just chuckled softly. You think you are worthy? Xiao Yu, kill him. In the next second, I stepped forward. Murderous intent suddenly erupted from my body. Seeing this, Zhou Lisheng's expression changed drastically. This is impossible. How are you not controlled by my skill? Seeing this scene, the prodigies all revealed looks of joy. As expected of Divine General Lin. To still possess such combat power after eating the fruit. We are finally saved. At that very moment, a dazzling radiance burst forth from Zhou Lisheng. The long sword in his hand hummed vibrantly. Immediately afterward, a sky full of sword chi swept outward. Skill, Holy Annihilation Sword Slash. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of sword chi engulfed me. Seeing this scene, the hope in the prodigies' hearts shattered once again. We are truly done for this time. They all believed I could not possibly survive such an attack. Zhou Lisheng also wore a frantic smile once again. Let us see if you survive this. Yet as the sword chi slowly dissipated across the sky, I stood right there completely unharmed. Although my skills and stats were sealed, my passive skill effects remained active. Over 19,000 skeletons shared the damage for me together. Besides, Zhou Lisheng's total stats were only around 60,000. Not even as good as some ordinary bosses of the same level. Therefore, the meager damage produced by his skill could not inflict a single bit of damage on the skeletons. Zhou Lisheng's laughter cut off abruptly, as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. The next moment, a terrifying killing intent burst out from my body. Zhou Lisheng was instantly pinned to the ground, unable to move. Immediately afterward, layers of illusions appeared before his eyes. Then I took out a platinum longsword from my inventory and ended his life. The people in the distance finally breathed a sigh of relief at the sight. Fortunately, Divine General Lin made a move. Otherwise, we would have been dead for sure. Divine General Lin is truly amazing. He actually killed him even with his skills and stats sealed. At this moment, they were all filled with utter admiration for me. Afterward, we set off again toward the next trial ground. However, the second stage of the trial had to be completed alone. Thus, the few of us had to temporarily split up. Upon arriving at the trial ground, I saw several stone tablets. Some patterns were carved onto the stone tablets. Looking closely, one would find that these patterns seemed to demonstrate a certain skill. A skill belonging to a sword gladiator. There were also several lines of text beside them. I did not waste too much time on the patterns. Instead, I turned my attention to the text beside them. The moment I saw the words, I was completely shocked. These characters turned out to be Chinese characters. Moreover, they were not entirely identical to the Chinese characters I mastered in my past life. These characters looked even more ancient. They somewhat resembled the writing of ancient China. The characters carved into the stone tablet were vigorous and powerful. If I concentrated on sensing them, it seemed I could comprehend the meaning contained within the words. Seeing this, I finally understood. It turned out that comprehending the skills on the stone tablets was the test for this stage. I immediately cast a detection spell on each stone tablet. I discovered that all 3 tablets were inscribed with basic sword techniques. The basic sword technique, Wind Slicer, can cut through a breeze. The basic sword technique, Wood Splitter, can cut through hardwood. The basic sword technique, Stonebreaker, can cut through bluestone. After glancing at them for a moment, I determined that the 3 sword techniques each had distinct paths. Wind Slicer followed a light and agile route. Wood Splitter followed a technique-oriented route. Stonebreaker followed a strength-oriented route. I realized the next stage of the test should be related to these 3 skills. Therefore, I began studying them earnestly. Since I was the only person who had consumed all the prime fruits, my hidden comprehension attribute must have increased significantly. Comprehending these skills on the stone tablets would also yield twice the result with half the effort. I was leading, my results actually surpassed all the prodigies participating in the Ancestral Land trial. The strength I displayed even shocked the ancestors of various major families. It turned out that after I stepped into the second stage of the trial ground, 3 stone tablets appeared in front of me. Each tablet was inscribed with a sword technique. I immediately realized the next stage of the trial must be related to skills. So I began meditating to comprehend the skills. I finally spent over 2 hours successfully comprehending all the sword techniques. As the sword technique tablets disappeared, a long sword suddenly appeared before me. Right in front of me stood a swordsman puppet, holding a sharp sword and staring fixedly at me. Clearly, the third stage of the trial was to defeat this opponent. I guess the skills I had just learned were prepared specifically for this stage. If I had not mastered those 3 skills, defeating this opponent would probably not have been easy. The moment I pulled up the long sword, the swordsman puppet in the center of the platform rushed toward me swiftly. Judging by its speed, I guessed its agility attribute should be between 500 and 700. Although this attribute was not high, it still posed some pressure for most people. However, it was nothing to me at all. At this moment, the swordsman puppet rushed in front of me and slashed with a sword. The sword technique it used was precisely the wind slash recorded on the stone tablet. Seeing this, I also released a wind slash in return. The moment the two swords collided, the long sword in the puppet's hand shattered with a crash. Immediately afterward, the entire puppet fell apart into pieces. Then it turned into a special aura that surged into my body. My attributes began to gradually increase, finally stopping after each of my 4 primary attributes gained 500 points. This took me by surprise. I didn't expect that killing puppets could also increase my attributes. What surprised me even more was how low the difficulty of the 3rd stage trial actually was. I ended the battle with just a single sword strike. But just then, 4 stone tablets appeared before me again. At the same time, I discovered that I had completely forgotten the sword techniques I just learned. This time, the skills on the tablets were no longer sword techniques, but mage skills. This meant my next trial target would be mage-type puppets. So, I sat before the stone tablets and began to comprehend these skills. With the experience from last time, it only took me an hour to master all 4 skills. Then, the stone tablets disappeared again. A puppet wearing mage robes appeared before me. I could feel that it was significantly stronger than the previous swordsman puppet. However, faced with my absolute strength, it was still insta-killed. It immediately turned into a beam of energy and entered my body. My 4 primary attributes increased by another 1,000 points. Looking at the increase, I suddenly understood. Once I defeat a puppet, its attributes are all added to my own. This way, the more times I clear the trial, the more attributes I will gain. Just then, a beam of light tore through the air and rushed into my body. Feeling this aura, my body shuddered violently, because this aura surprisingly contains the power of the god of life. At this moment, I am very certain of my guess. That is, the Genesis ancestral land must be related to the scepter of creation. Perhaps the ray of light mentioned by Zishan is the missing life core. Meanwhile, outside the ancestral land, someone is eliminated and sent out. The moment he comes out, he tells everyone outside that something has happened. Hearing this, Imo Xinghe instantly approaches him to ask what is going on. Then, he hurriedly recounts what just happened. Zhou Lixing of the Zhou family joined the Demon Worship Society. He deliberately avoided eating the fruit. He waited until all of us ate the fruit, sealing our skills and attributes. Then he launched a merciless slaughter against us. Moreover, he even activated the soul destruction barrier. He wanted to make it impossible for us to resurrect through our soul imprints. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Divine General Lin made a move and killed Zhou Lixing. Otherwise, not a single genius who entered the ancestral land would have survived. Hearing this, the elders of various families are incomparably shocked. Did Divine General Lin not also eat the fruit inside? Then why was he able to kill Zhou Lixing, who had not eaten the fruit? Could it be that he gave that fruit to? However, at this moment, Ning Tyrant's killing intent surges. His gaze is like a blade as he looks around. Right now, he only wants to find the Zhou family and demand a clear explanation. Yet he discovers that the members of the Zhou family have already fled far away. Seeing this, the elders of various families immediately pass on this news. Everyone knows that the entire Zhou family is about to suffer a disaster. Shortly after, another 4 people are eliminated. They belong to the first batch of eliminated people, just like the previous one. The second batch of eliminated people reaches 15 in total. They were all defeated by the mage puppets. Therefore, each stat only increased by 500 points. Now only 10 people remained inside the ancestral land. Some family elders saw that their descendants had not come out yet. Their faces all showed deep smiles. Because the later someone was eliminated, the greater their harvest would be. After a while, the third batch of people was also teleported out successively. They had all defeated the mage puppets, but lost to the third puppet. Thus, each person's various stats increased by 1,500 points. However, a few individuals also obtained a trace of divine life power. Not only did all their stats increase by 1,500 points, even their physique stats increased by 2,000 points. At the same time, they gained a 10% vitality increase to their stats. Now only 5 people remained in the ancestral land. Besides me, my sister, and a few others. There was still a descendant from the Sha family who had not come out yet. Seeing this, the Sha family elder grinned from ear to ear. Meanwhile, I defeated an archer puppet once again. This time, my various stats increased by 1,500 points. At this point, my various stats had already reached 13,000 points. After taking it down, another beam of light fell upon me. Moreover, this light was even stronger than before. On the 7th platform, there was only a single stone tablet. This also meant that this stage only required comprehending a skill. Although it looked much simpler. The more it seemed this way, the more I felt something was wrong. When I saw the skill on the stone tablet, I was immediately astonished. Because what was carved on the stone tablet turned out to be a healing skill. Could it be that this trial was not just about defeating puppets? Regardless of what it was, I still had to comprehend the skill first. Half an hour later, I successfully mastered the skill. Then, the skill tablet slowly vanished. On the other side, seeing the tablet disappear, Lin Mohan wore a smile on her face. She was extremely clear about some of the rules of the ancestral grounds. She even far surpassed god-tier powerhouses like Mo Xinghe. Since she had only stepped onto the platform half an hour ago, and the tablet had already vanished, it meant the person ahead of her was about half an hour faster. She knew that only Lin Moyu could achieve this kind of feat. Anyone else would certainly not be able to do it. Mo Yun and Ning Yi both knitted their brows tightly at this moment. The tablet had vanished just as they walked onto the platform. Therefore, they could only stop right there. However, I knew nothing of all this. The reason Lin Mohan did not tell me about this rule was because she understood my personality very well. Knowing this rule, I would definitely slow down to wait for them. So she intentionally kept quiet to let me push forward with all my might. Once the tablet vanished, another scene appeared before my eyes. A single puppet was being swarmed and attacked by 5 other puppets. What is more, it was already on its last legs. Seeing this, I finally understood what this trial was testing. It was to use the healing skill just learned to keep it alive, while also counter-killing the 5 hostile puppets. I immediately cast a healing glimmer toward it. Although it recovered slightly, the healing glimmer was merely a junior skill. Its healing effect was quite average. I had no choice but to continuously cast healing on it over and over. Yet even so, I felt a sense of struggle to keep up. Therefore, I fought while simultaneously healing the puppet. Only by doing this could I ensure the puppet's safety. Although I do not have any skills, I relied on the passive skill damage transfer and the comprehensive link talent. I suppressed the 5 puppets by trading injury for injury. After taking an attack from a puppet, I found that their strength stat was very high, around 5,000. This stat was already enough to surpass other practitioners, but it was still far from enough for me. It did not take long for me to defeat all 5 opponents. Each of my stats increased by a full 3,000. At the same time, a beam of light entered my body. This was the 3rd beam of light I had obtained since the challenge began. Meanwhile, the light outside the ancestral land flickered slightly. Ning Yi and Mo Yun were teleported out almost simultaneously. Their 4 major stats had all increased by 3,500 points. And they also gained an extra trait that increased vitality by 20%. Ning Tairan and Mo Xinghe both breathed a sigh of relief seeing that the two were fine. However, the elders of the Sha family were already smiling from ear to ear, because only 3 people had not come out of the ancestral land yet. Aside from me and my sister Lin Mohan, only his grandson remained inside. I had grown much stronger. I did not expect that absorbing the creation power feared by all gods would give my strength such a massive boost. It turned out that right after I solved the 5 puppets on the 8th platform, I came to a trial platform on the final floor. To my surprise, what was on this platform was not a puppet, but a spirit. When I saw its appearance clearly, I was shocked, because embedded right on its forehead was a gemstone. And this gemstone actually contained the aura of the life core. It seemed my guess was correct. The Genesis ancestral land is indeed related to the scepter of creation. I just do not know how to obtain it. As I pondered, my older sister Lin Mohan also arrived here. Seeing me, she stretched lazily. "You are faster, Xiaoyu." Then she took out a thumbnail-sized crystal and threw it to the sprite. "Teacher has done what was promised to you. It is time for you to fulfill your promise as well." It turns out that many years ago, Lin Mohan's teacher made a deal with it. This small crystal was the only missing part of the life core. After receiving the crystal stone, the life sprite immediately fused it into the gem on its forehead. The gem instantly grew much brighter. Then the life sprite projected a beam of light into Lin Mohan's body. The next second, Lin Mohan's aura began to rise sharply. The life sprite then said expressionlessly, "The deal is done. Next comes the trial between the 2 of you. However, there is only one spot. The 2 of you can duel to decide the winner." Yet Lin Mohan withdrew from the ancestral land without a second thought, because she only came here to complete that transaction. Although what follows is somewhat useful to her as well. She knows very well that those things are much more important to me. The moment Lin Mohan teleported out of the ancestral land, an old man hurried over and asked, "Young girl, have you seen my grandson Shajin inside the ancestral land?" Mo Yin walked to Lin Mohan's side and whispered, "Her grandson is the guy who killed the most creatures in the ancestral land." Hearing these words, Lin Mohan let out a sweet laugh. So it was him. Having killed so many animals, he's probably dead by now. Upon hearing this, the old man's expression changed instantly. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. His level was over 85. His level is over 85, and his strength is incredibly formidable. But Lin Mohan didn't budge an inch. A hint of disdain appeared on her beautiful face. "Do you want to fight me? If so, are you prepared for your entire clan to be wiped out?" As she spoke, The origin rune on the back of her hand flickered slightly. But just then, Ning Tyrant shouted angrily. Su Sheng, what are you doing? As a god-level powerhouse, Ning Tyrant's aura was even more terrifying, and the pressure he released knocked Su Sheng back a long distance. Immediately after, Imo Xinghe hurried to Lin Mohan's side. Miss Lin, please calm down. Su Sheng only acted this way because he was concerned for his grandson. Ning Tyrant also chimed in from the side. He only did this because he was anxious. Miss Lin, please forgive him this once. Seeing that two god-level powerhouses were pleading for Su Sheng, Lin Mohan's killing intent finally faded, and she said indifferently, for the sake of these two elders, I'll let him go this time. Then, she used a teleportation stone and vanished. After she left, Imo Xinghe finally breathed a sigh of relief. Old Sha, do you have any idea how close you just came to getting yourself killed? She is a disciple of that ancestor from Chuanshan Academy. Hearing this, Su Sheng's expression changed drastically. His entire body began to tremble uncontrollably. He never dreamed that this stunning beauty had such a terrifying identity. Seeing this, Ning Tyrant let out a cold snort. Keep your eyes open from now on. Don't bring disaster upon yourself and the Sha family. Meanwhile, the life spirit looked at me with a satisfied expression. I can feel the aura of the first fruit within you. You are the first human in over 1,000 years to eat the first fruit and survive. You are the most qualified person I've ever seen to obtain it, without exception. However, it now depends on whether you can gain its recognition. With that, the life spirit waved its hand. An intensely bright orb of white light appeared before me. The moment it appeared, I felt the aura of the scepter of creation. So, I eagerly walked toward the white light. With every step, a massive amount of divine power of life flowed into my body. But too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. After a few steps, the divine power of life reached the limit of what my body could bear. It began to damage my body. Fortunately, all the damage was transferred directly to the Undead Legion through damage transfer. It was under these circumstances that I gradually approached it. Soon, I arrived in front of the orb of light. At that moment, a glimmer of hope rose in the life spirit's eyes. It seemed to hope that I could take the orb of light. Right at that moment, the scepter of creation on me flew out on its own. Immediately after, the light in the air rushed toward the scepter of creation as if it had found its home. Just as the light cluster entered the scepter of creation, it also began to flow into my body using the scepter as a medium. All my restrictions were instantly broken. My skills and attributes all returned. All the previously accumulated attributes were also added to my base stats. Strength, agility, and spirit each increased by 16,000 points. Constitution increased by 24,000 points. I also gained a trait that increased vitality by 30%. But as this ball of light kept pouring into my body, my constitution and vitality continued to increase. The pseudo-life core on the scepter of creation was also glowing. At this time, several fragments flew out from the gem on the forehead of the life spirit. These fragments all contained immense divine power of life. They quickly fused with the pseudo-life core on the scepter of creation. Soon, the scepter of creation became even more crystal clear and looked completely flawless. However, when I checked it, I found that the scepter of creation was still in a damaged state. Yet it already had an equipment bonus of 400,000 to all attributes, and gained 2 more skills. The skill Light of Life can provide comprehensive healing to the target. The skill Light of Annihilation can deal a fatal blow to the target, as expected of a weapon owned by the God of Life. Even in a damaged state, it adds 400,000 to all attributes, while possessing 2 skills that can both heal and kill enemies. Suddenly, I thought of my other weapon. Although the Monarch Scepter I obtained before was only a legendary weapon, the stats it added were actually higher than the mythical Scepter of Creation. It was clear that the Monarch Scepter might also be a weapon left behind by some deity. Meanwhile, people outside the ancestral grounds had basically all left, leaving only Imo Xinghe and a few others waiting outside. Ning Yi was feeling rather worried at this moment. It had been so long, why had he still not come out? Could something have happened to him? To comfort her, Ning Tyrant let out a cold snort. Rest assured, this kid's life is tougher than a turtle's. He even managed to come back alive from the corpse realm, let alone the ancestral grounds. Right as those words fell, I was teleported out of the ancestral grounds. Seeing me emerge, Ning Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. While Ning Tyrant on the side instantly noticed the changes in me. He then asked me if I had obtained that ray of light in the ancestral grounds. I nodded slightly. Then he asked how much my stats had increased. Hearing this, I quickly checked my attribute changes after absorbing the light. I found that my strength, agility, and spirit stats still showed no change, remaining at an increase of 16,000 points each, just like before. However, after absorbing the light, my physique experienced another massive boost, increasing by a total of 32,000 including the previous amount. Moreover, the vitality trait had also been upgraded to 50%. Afterward, I told Ning Tairan all of this truthfully. Hearing this, Ning Tairan was utterly shocked. Could that prime fruit in the ancestral grounds really have been eaten by you?